What time it is. Hello, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Daily S&M with Rory Sauter and Greg Merck. Happy hump day, happy Wednesday, happy midweek. A lot going on, a lot to address, headline after headline. Wow, what a time to be alive. 2024 is off to a very interesting start. Merck, how are you, man?
I'm doing well. Despite of the headlines that we see every day, this administration starting 2024, just like they've started all its previous years, the most incompetent, non-transparent failure of administration probably in the history of this country. You got Mayorkas, who is just egregiously incompetent and out of his element. Um, Looking at getting impeached. You've got Secretary Austin, the Secretary of Defense, at a time when we are funding a war, a proxy war in Ukraine. There's chaos in the Middle East with the Israelis going after Hamas and Hezbollah and the Houthis. And this guy goes in for surgery, doesn't tell anybody, has complications, goes in the intensive care unit, still doesn't tell anybody, actually lies and says he's going to be working from home, only to find out that the guy's been in ICU. Not even the president of the United States knows. And this is our country. It is like we are a ship lost at sea with, gale force winds and no rudder and no engine.
Speaking of this whole Lloyd Austin situation, what will come of it? Will he be held accountable or will he get a pass? Because there are even Democrats and people that were working alongside Biden that are very concerned about this, that are, not happy.
Well, I don't know how there's no other choice, and there are a couple of Democrats. Hey, one of them from Pennsylvania, Deluzio, he's a
Yeah.
Democrat, first Democrat to come out and call for his resignation. You simply cannot allow this. If Joe Biden allows this to happen, he's not defending the Democrat Party or his administration. He's defending his position, very critical role as commander in chief. This simply cannot be tolerated. This was not an oversight, a mistake, a lapse in judgment. This was actually an act of contempt. When you look at what Lloyd Austin does, if you're the president of the United States, if you have a modicum of leadership, you're going to fire this guy on the spot. You simply cannot make the commander in chief look that bad. It is beyond the pale, almost indescribable, completely incomprehensible. He should be fired on the spot. And if Joe Biden doesn't do it, then he's really showing how absolutely feckless and worthless and useless he is. He's the commander in chief, and the defense secretary doesn't have the respect for him to tell him that he's in the hospital or that he had complications. Even okay, maybe I don't even give the fact that he would go in and have the prostate surgery if that's in fact what he did. That's bad enough. That's right there. Not only that, but then to go in the intensive care unit and still not to contact the president. It's unbelievable. It's an act of contempt on the part of Austin, not a mistake or an oversight. And it is an extreme sign of weakness in President Biden if he doesn't fire this guy on the spot.
There was a report that came out saying Biden was on vacation while
Yeah,
Austin
of
was being.
course. So who's running the military? The United States. We pride ourselves on the military not being run by military commanders, but by civilians. So the commander in chief is MIA. The Secretary of Defense is MIA. We've got a proxy war in Ukraine. We've got advisors on the ground in Israel. Who's running the wars? Who's making decisions? Yeah, not even the deputy secretary of defense knew what was going on. It's just unbelievable. I mean, look, it's almost a cliche now to say if this was the Trump administration, but first of all, it would never happen under the Trump administration. And I'll tell you, if it did, the guy would be fired on the spot because Donald Trump would recognize in a millisecond that this is disrespect for the commander in chief and really a violation of trust.
And it says, according to recent reports, Biden has no plans on firing Austin, unfortunately. So it looks like nothing is going to be done about it.
Well,
it kind of
because
thing.
it's for all the wrong reasons. What could
And
possibly be
prostate
his
cancer is a
reason?
serious matter. That becomes a liability, I feel like. I mean, when somebody has a cancer that,
Well,
I
forget
mean,
about the
there are
cancer. I don't care if it was a
survivors.
hangnail.
There's quite a few survivors with
But that's
prostate, but at the same
look.
time, it
It's
kills
not the
quite a few
cancer.
people. It kills quite a few people.
It's
Go ahead.
not the cancer. I
But I
mean,
think
look,
but I think it being a liability, I mean, I think that factors into the equation. I think that's a
that's not even. And look, I don't care if he went in for an ingrown toenail. What he did is the liability,
well,
the
that
lack
I
of
understand
respect.
that the principle of the matter. I understand, how unethical it was. Totally not kosher.
Look, there
Uh,
is not a company
well,
commander on the planet, not a company commander who would tolerate this from any one of his troops, not a component commander, nobody underneath Secretary Austin's chain of command, not a single officer under his chain of command would tolerate that for 1 second. Anybody that was beneath them, no, none of them. Look, I spent 22 years in the military. This is so egregious. And forget about whether or not he's physically compromised or can handle position. You know what? Prostate cancer, not a big deal. And look, the fact is he developed an infection, which is not uncommon when you have a surgery. You don't take the antibiotics, whatever. It can be, it can be life threatening. You become
right.
septic and you die of a blood infection. But that isn't even in the equation. This was a surgery and then an intensive care unit observation period of days. And he's lying to people saying he's working from home. And the president, I said that in and of itself, it doesn't matter what he went in the hospital for, whether it was something as routine as getting a mole removed or prostate surgery. It doesn't matter. It's what he did and the actions he took. It's contemptuous. And really, it's complete disrespect for his chain of command in the president of the United States. I would fire the guy on the spot. But, I can only wonder why Biden isn't, because it's all the wrong reasons. There's no right reason that Biden could be saying, nah, it's not because the guy's competent. He hasn't exactly proven himself as this great military defense secretary and leader. He's done none of that. It's not like he's, this masterpiece. If he was, a secretary of the Treasury that masterminded the soft landing of the century, he's done none of that. He's average at best. And in my opinion, he's below average in terms of intelligence. And the only thing I can think of is, well, he doesn't want to look like he's firing the black defense secretary. It's something rooted in a ridiculous rationale like that. It's not because he has good reasons. It's not because he's this exceptional leader and we need this guy here. Biden is keeping him there for one reason or another, but none of them have to do with the safety and national security whatsoever. It's probably embedded in his woke mentality, or this, we can't be seen as, the Republicans beating us and taking down one of my own. All the wrong reasons.
And look how bad the timing is. Look at all the wars we're in right now, and this comes along. Horrible.
And if I thought that Biden was thinking, oh, it's too dangerous, the world is in chaos, the geopolitical threats everywhere, I can't shoot my Secretary of Defense off the throne. I can't do that at this time. I would maybe say, well, at least he's kind of thinking along the lines of, something tactical, something national security wise. But I guarantee you that there's none of that. None of that is coming into play with Joe Biden and the administration's decision to keep him in here. More likely, this is another Barack Obama push that don't push the black man out. We got to keep. But can you imagine if Austin? Austin's scraping the bottom of the barrel anyway for Secretary of Defense. Can you imagine who he would fill him with? I don't know. Maybe he'd find some lesbian female to fill his role. Who knows how much worse it could get? But it just shows this administration, from every single cabinet position is complete chaos and disaster. Look at Mayorkas. He's under fire, looking to get impeached. Joe Biden is under investigation to get impeached. Have you ever seen such abject failures?
Right. And can you imagine what the media would do if Biden fired Austin? They would portray it and paint it as a racist headline. They would say, white man fires, but I feel like they would do
I don't
that.
know. I don't know. I mean, this is Biden we're talking about. Look, Democrats, white
I
Democrats
feel like the
can't be
media doesn't
racist.
like Biden like they've liked other Democrats. Like they really liked Obama.
Oh
And I feel
man,
like
they've
they
been
don't really
covering
care
for the
for
guy
Biden.
they've been covering for the guy for 3 years. No,
Well,
I think it would be
now he's complaining that the media is treating him unfair. So
yeah, well, that's because things are becoming so ridiculously obvious. Like, not even the media can, with a straight face, lie for this guy anymore. I think it's just, I don't think even the media would realize because they're all talking about it. I mean,
right. But
whether it's MSNBC, CNN.
you brought up the whole aspect of Obama, not wanting to get rid of the black guy. So I just thought I would throw that in there. With the way the media is today, I feel like maybe they would do something like that. Try to
Yeah, but I think Obama's operating independently of everybody in this administration.
like,
But I think that it would be very easy for look. It's no brainer. It's not like it doesn't even require an explanation. I mean, Biden can continue to hide in his basement, and his mom's been the word on this whole thing. But he wouldn't even have to come out and explain it. Everybody would know it.
right.
Lloyd Austin tendered his resignation today. Nobody would question that. Yeah,
Right.
it'd be like, what? What? Who would be saying what? Why that? No, I mean, it's obvious. If anything, they'd be saying it's about time.
And
Should have happened the next day. It should
it,
have happened on the 5th of January. But I don't
right.
think anybody would question the firing of him, his resignation. Um, I mean, not even the liberal media, because really, this is really a threat. And not only that, but if Biden is so great, how do you let a guy get away with such disrespect? I
Yeah.
mean, that's really what this all comes down to. And even more than disrespect, disrespecting your chain of command. This is an act of, I think, of contempt, that you would literally lie about it, to think that your boss, the commander in chief, is not worthy to know that you are going under the knife for a surgery and then that have complications that would follow. I mean, that's not just well, I'll do it. What do you say? I got to do a better job next time. No, that goes to character. You don't do that in the first place. I mean,
Do
he
you buy
clearly has flawed character, this Austin.
do you buy the narrative though that all these people that claim they didn't know? I mean, I don't. I mean, because there was obviously people overseeing things while he was gone, somebody working under him.
Look,
And
these
I mean,
bureaucrats in Washington, don't kid yourself. It's not like they're, every single day in the grind and in the, I mean, these bureaucrats are nothing but exactly that. Low life sucking off the American taxpayer. Who knows where the hell these guys, I mean, look at Biden. He spent a third of his time somewhere on the beach. I don't know, somewhere in front of the window, eating mashed potatoes and cream of corn. I mean, who knows what these people do, 30, 40, 50% of the time. So yeah, I buy it that the guy can just disappear and nobody know where he's at. He said, I'm working at home. I mean, it's not like somebody close, maybe drivers or Secret Service, whatever he has and protect him. Somebody knows, but it's not like these people run out and tell everybody.
yeah.
So yeah, I buy it that he could do this and hide it from most people. I mean, especially Joe Biden. I mean, what do you think you think that guy keeps tabs on anything? He doesn't even know what the hell's going on in the White House half the time anyway.
Right.
Now, how serious the surgery was it prostate? I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to say that it wasn't prostate surgery. I'm going to believe that it was. And I'm going to believe that he went into ICU with a UTI, because that's not uncommon. When you come out of surgery like that, when they're sticking things up in there and in these hospitals, I mean, they're havens for viruses and bacteria. You get stuff in your system, you're compromised anyway, immune system, you're kind of tired and worn down. And before you know it, if you're not on the antibiotics right away after post-surgery, these infections start out in the in your maybe urinary tract or wherever they are, and then they spread into the blood system, and then before you know it, it becomes very, very serious. So, it's not an uncommon thing for him to have these complications post-surgery. It happens all the time. And it's serious. But the bottom line is, it's serious. Going into surgery is serious. I would never, ever, under any circumstances, think that going to have surgery without notifying my chain of command was okay. I would never, ever think it was okay.
Right.
And nobody would. Not even a private first class would think that was okay.
Yeah.
Hear these guys, but again,
Yeah.
more of the do as I say, not as I do mentality. I mean, these people rail on everybody else in society while they themselves do exactly whatever the hell they want. And you be damned if you're going to tell me that I should be fired or I should resign.
And you brought up a very interesting point and a good point. Um, Very important. Um, with the whole scenario regarding being in a hospital, going through surgery, all the diseases people can pick up. Let's say a surgery goes wrong. We're talking about a guy at the highest level dying. And then what happens? Like seriously, that's scary. It's no joke. That's nothing to mess around with.
Yeah. Yeah, and how long would it take to, formulate, getting the chain of command in order in the defense? I mean, what if out of nowhere, the guy flatlines, because look, anytime you go under general anesthesia, that's dangerous anyway. And this guy's 70 years old and doesn't appear to me to be in like great health. So what if he doesn't, what if he doesn't come off a respirator after, the surgery? And I'm assuming it was general anesthesia. I don't think you do prostate cancer surgery like that without general. But anyway, it's very risky. It's risky anyway. Any surgery is risky when you go under general anesthesia. So what if the guy doesn't come out of it? And now you're rushing around. It takes what, a day, 2, 3 days? I mean, how long would it take for us to realize that the Secretary of Defense is dead? We just create a ripple of chaos, not only through this country, but around the globe, especially, given the volatility and the geopolitical situation as it is. So just not a lapse in judgment. This is just not an oversight, not an error, not something I could do better. This goes to character, to the core of who this man is, and
Right.
his clear lack of respect for the commander in chief. I can't say I blame him.
No, I agree. I agree. We're gonna take a quick break. We'll be right back. Stay with us, everybody. And we are back, everybody. Greg, I want to transition these Jewish tunnels in New York City. Did you see that?
Yeah.
What do we make of this?
Well, which headline are you talking about?
The tunnels that were found.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure what to make of it. I don't really have seen enough information really to I don't know. What do you think of it?
I don't know. I mean, I saw mattresses come out. I saw different. It's creepy. It's very weird. It's very suspicious. We can always hear about child sex trafficking and all this stuff. Those are the type of tunnels that are perfect for something like that. I mean, it's also perfect for transporting drugs around. I mean, there's numerous things.
Well, but why where's the proof that these are Jewish tunnels?
No, I think that's what the headline said. It was run by a Jewish organization. And there was Jewish people on TV talking about it, interviews, and you didn't hear about this? This is breaking news the other day.
Well, okay, so that was under the synagogue or something,
Right? I think something like
yeah,
that. Yeah,
yeah,
something
yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't know that it's something that's just
We're still
systemic.
investigating it. We're not getting enough answers at this point. This is still something that, yeah, people are still. It's a lot to wrap our heads around. I mean, I don't really know what to make of this. Very suspicious. We haven't seen something like this in quite some time.
Yeah, I don't think I've. I mean,
And there's stuff under there, like it's almost like many people were living, and who really knows? I mean, just thinking about this stuff, um, and all the movies and all the documentaries I've seen with, I mean,
Well, I will say that
like I said,
it,
we have no full answers yet. Like I said,
well, I
there's
mean,
figuring it out, still investigating. Go ahead.
the Hasidic community, anyways, it's a very kind of closed community. It's not like people know a lot about them. It's not like they hang out with, everyday people, and it's a very, very closed community. So, who knows what they're doing, what the purpose of, I mean, I don't know. I don't know that it's something that's like systemic to the Jewish people in New York, whether there's some kind of strange movement going on, or it was kind of isolated to this synagogue. I don't really see, I don't know. I don't really know what the connection would be to the Hasidics as a whole, but I do know individually, if there's one synagogue, it's kind of hard for people to really know what's going on. It's the same with like a lot of these mosques. They're so close. You can't just, like, you and I can't just go into a mosque and hang out. Now we can go into a synagogue and hang out and listen, but we can't go to a mosque. We can't go into the inner sanctuary.
Well, what do they
being
do?
non-Muslim.
Do they question you and like make
Well,
sure?
just being non-Muslim, frankly, I don't know what they would just be not allowed. I'm sure they
Well,
would throw you out.
what about all the white people that convert to Islam?
Well, you have to convert. That's you have to convert.
Well, how do they clarify? How do they make sure? I mean, people could just say they converted. Do they have to like look at some sort of documentation? You said it's closed off. So I imagine if people would want to like test things or experiment just to see what it's like, they would lie and say, "Oh yeah, I converted."
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm saying, like, if you and I walked into a mosque, we don't
Right.
exactly look like your typical Muslim
Right.
convert.
Right.
So I think they would be suspicious of us, and they'd ask us questions, and I suppose we could lie, but then we would have to be able to substantiate
Right.
whatever to get in there. Well, it's not like anybody come into my church. I don't care if you're Muslim, gay, it doesn't matter what color you are. It doesn't come on in, hear the gospel message. Anybody.
Right.
It's not that way with mosques. Now, as far as I know, every synagogue I've ever been to, they're open too. You can go in there. I've been to many of them with friends and family, but mosques are very different. Now, but the Hasidic community itself I don't know, they're very, very close. I'll just say they're very close community.
Right. I want to transition here. January 6th. We were live on January 6th, and we didn't even mention the Capitol scenario. I can't believe it. It should have been the first thing we talked about, and we never even went over it. Obviously, it's been a few years. People are still stuck in jail. Trump hasn't done anything for these people, in my opinion. He could easily spread more awareness, talk to politicians in Washington, make something happen with legislation, but he doesn't. I mean, he hasn't even said very much on his Truth Social account about these prisoners.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, there's nothing Trump can do right now.
No, I know, but a lot of people have said, there's been numerous reports, people close to him, that they are unsure, and there's reports that say unsure, and there's others that say probably not, in regards to him pardoning those prisoners when he comes back into office on day one, because it's a few thousand people, and if he has to pardon all those people,
I don't know if he pardons them. He could just commute their sentences, and that's probably what he would do. I mean, many of them ought to be pardoned. I don't know. Some of them, you got to look. I don't think you could just go blanket. Everybody's pardoned, because there may have been people doing stuff, smashing things and breaking. And I don't care if the FBI is in there. You know what? If the FBI is in there telling you undercut, say, "Come on, we're going to go," and you smash and destroy. Look, you're going to jail. You're going to go to jail. Now, I will say that the vast majority of the people that were convicted for sentences was over the top, and as far as I'm concerned, justice was not served for those people. Especially when you look at what Democrats, look at what Hunter Biden's getting away with. But he could certainly go in and commute all their sentences and say, you know what, they've served enough time. And I mean, let me think about it. We've had cities burned down, people were killed, billions of dollars were stolen, and nothing happened to these people. And there were no investigations. There were no let's access all the cameras in the streets and hunt these people down. And there was zero of that. BLM, Antifa, all going free. So as far as I'm concerned, these people did more than their time. Even if they did smash windows. Now, I can't pardon somebody for smashing windows. Look, yeah, there you are, smashing in the windows and throwing chairs. I can't pardon, but I can't commute your sentence. You know what? You served your time. Time to move on. Some of them may ought to be pardoned.
But you really think he could commute the sentence of thousands of people?
Sure, he can.
I mean, isn't that a lot of paperwork? Wouldn't that take a lot?
It's not like Donald Trump is going to be sitting at his table, going.
No, I know, but just the process of going through all of that. I mean, we see
look, the president, like on his last day of office, usually pardons like 50 people.
No, I understand that 50 is a lot different than a couple thousand. And
but he's got, it's not like he has to do it in one day. It's like you start it, like get them all up there, just one by one, boom, boom, boom. Just go through the, that's for.
If this is the case, if he's actually going to commute and pardon these individuals, he'll break the record for any president in history with the most pardons and
well, I think it's warranted.
Yeah.
I mean, these people, what happened, how these people, so many of them sitting in jail, the terms that we're giving them, the sentences rather that we're giving them are unbelievable. I mean, just unbelievable.
Yeah, dude. And it was just announced. Even people that didn't go into the Capitol, a new report, they are saying that they are still going around looking for people, questioning people that were there that day. If they were on the premise, even outside hanging out and didn't even go in, they're going to get questioned even more. So we're over 3 years. Well, no, yeah, we're over 3 years since this happened.
And how is Ray Epps not in jail?
And they're still harassing people. They're still going after innocent civilians.
But how about Ray Epps, who read that he literally texted somebody. I don't know if it was somebody's family friend. Basically, he said that he instigated it. I did this. He's literally taking credit. I did this. And this guy's walking as free as a bird.
Right.
So I'm sorry. There's just something rotten about the whole thing.
Ray Epps gets probation, no jail time.
Yeah.
No jail time, just probation. Imagine that. Everybody else is getting jail time.
And yet you got Proud Boys who weren't even in the Capitol that are in jail for years.
Right. So we have to question. We have to really wonder, was he an informant? Was he working for the government? Was he working for the inside? Because all clues, all these signs indicate to yes, he was. Yes.
Well, you know what? I'll give him.
Because there's no other excuse. There's no other justification or excuse for all of these people getting all of these sentences that are outrageous. And out of all the reports we've heard, this is the only guy, as far as I know, and don't quote me on this, that has gotten probation. Everybody else, even if they got jail time, it was at least they got a couple days. I've never heard of just probation in this scenario like this with the January 6th. I mean, probation comes after they get out of jail, but no cases where no jail and just probation. No, I've never seen that with January 6th.
Well, no, and that's why I say that you've got people that that were not there, that supposedly incited it, whether it's the Proud Boys or these groups and they're online and social media, and these people were convicted of crimes and went to jail. And here's Ray Epps with his bullhorn, and we're going in, and then even taking credit for it the next day, saying I did this, and he gets probation. I mean, that's just, it's just not right. But Trump's got enough battles fighting for himself that he's gonna, he can't spend his, his fortune and his time, fighting on behalf of these people, he gets back in office and these people will be glad he is, because I have no doubt in my mind that Donald Trump will not forget them when he takes office. If he's back in the White House, he will not forget these people. You can be guaranteed of that.
Well, it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting.
I mean, the question is Trump going to get back? Are they going to successfully keep Trump out of the White House? I mean, that's the real question.
I mean, time will tell. I don't think they want him in there.
No, I mean, clearly they don't want the American people to have the choice. They despise Donald Trump because, and the thing is the more they have done Donald Trump, the more they've ground his axe to a razor. Every time they attack him, they just make his axe just that much more grinding and sharpening it. He's going to want to hatchet these people to death. And you know what? If they would have just kind of left the guy alone, he wouldn't have this axe to grind like he has now. Now he is hell bent on getting back. And if they're afraid, they ought to be. Because look, you can't go after this guy look, we're going on 7 years now, because it started 8 years. It started before he was even elected. And they've been incessant and continue to attack this man and keep them out of public office and expect that he's going to just go in office and let bygones be bygones. Well, so, you guys can do whatever you want. You can break any law you want. You can weaponize the government to the nth degree. You can attack people's civil rights, civil liberties, and not give a damn about the will of 60 to 70 million Americans. And then Republicans are supposed to sit down and just suck our thumb and just be stupid and quiet when we're in power. It doesn't work that way. And Donald Trump has every reason to want to clean house if he's reelected. And this is not revenge. This is about a moral obligation to the American people and a responsibility as the chief executive of this country to clean up Washington, the deep state, and the corruption that's in levels of government that are so high up that we have no rights if we're under this totalitarian, authoritarian kind of regime like the Biden administration, the deep state. He has an obligation to clean house. So these people he's going to go and take revenge. You got to keep him out. No, he's got an obligation. And look, they're coming after 70 million American people. And yeah, I get it. Trump's doing it to save his name and he wants to win. Yes, that's very true. But they hate us as well. They do not like the American people. And when Joe Biden is talking about MAGA, he's not just talking about Trump. He's talking about 70 million Americans that voted for him.
Right. I hear you. I want to transition to this whole Epstein thing. What do we make of all these files coming out? All these high-profile people that are on it. Alan Dershowitz is the one that's listed the most. He's the one that was on the flights the most, even more than Slick Willie. Those are the reports that came out, more than Prince Andrew even. And we know how much of a pervert Prince Andrew is. So, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I'm not, we don't have any factual evidence that Dershowitz was doing things.
Not that I don't think that Dershowitz is some
pervert,
complete moral guy who doesn't look at young girls and probably eye copulate them. He probably does. But I think he just likes the attention that that some young pretty girl could possibly have been with him. He knows it never happened. It's easy to get out there in front of that and say, go ahead, do everything. I'll get all the investigations, put 100 attorneys on that and prosecutors. There's nothing, because he knows there's nothing there. But I think he likes the fact that he's kind of up there with the rest of these rich, wealthy, powerful guys that, these young girls would go after. I think he literally, in his little sycophant mind, kind of gets off on the fact that it could happen because he knows he's never going to get convicted of it. He knows it's absolutely untrue. So I think he just likes getting pooled with the rest of it. But I'm telling you, that ugly old geezer with his George Washington smile, his wooden teeth, I don't think you could pay any of those girls enough to want to sleep with that guy. I'm sorry, pal. It ain't going to happen.
Greg, they were forced.
Even whores got more.
Greg, a lot of these girls were forced, though. They were like, it doesn't matter what these men look like. There were some ugly bastards that went there. like Reed Hastings, the founder of I think he was the founder of LinkedIn. He went there and he's fucking disgusting.
Well, maybe, but I think any girl that
I mean,
was
there's
going
so
to get
many
forced,
examples of how
any girl that was forced
people,
to, any girl who was forced to sleep with Alan Dershowitz would say, "Put me on that weird altar up there and burn
Reed
me
Hoffman,
alive."
not Reed Hastings. Reed Hoffman. He's a big fat guy that looks like a Simpsons character. He founded LinkedIn. He's a billionaire, and he's one of the big names that went there. Obviously, Bill Clinton, Prince Andrew. There were a bunch of celebrities. I mean, the list went on and on.
Oh, I know. And look, it's a weird place. Frankly, I don't know how anybody goes there anyway. Anybody goes there, don't bring my kids there. I'm sorry. Maybe early on, before this guy was a freak, although he's been a freak a long time. He was, he got a sweet deal years before. But maybe early on, when the guy first gets his island, you think, hey, kind of cool guys have an island. Hey, check it out. But, anybody after that, I mean, when you go to an island and there's like a temple there, a weird kind
of dungeon, a sex dungeon for minors.
I mean, what? You know what? I'm thinking, yeah, okay. It's been nice, pal, but I'm gonna get the first boat off.
But we've also talked about on previous conversations how these elites and pedophilia go together. This.
Well, and there's
a trend. It seems to be what can they get away with? What can they do that they haven't already done? It's almost like a bucket list thing. It's like an adventure thing for them. They get a huge high out of it, if you know what I mean. Like it's.
Well, I mean, it's kind of like, all right, you're 60 years old, you're 70 years old. You wouldn't want to be in high school again. You look at all these girls, and then you can go to Epstein's Island and it's like you're in high school again. It was naked 15-year-old. I don't know how old they were, but naked teenage girls. Right. So I mean, like this banal instinct of these reprobate minds, and when you have that kind of money, you can just have it. You can go to an island, and there it is, right there for you. And you've got enablers and facilitators like Epstein and his lady friend or whatever she was to him. I mean, facilitating the whole process. Yeah. So
Ghislaine Maxwell is her name to be.
Ghislaine, whatever the hell.
Ghislaine,
yeah. So like probably the average guy. I mean, look, go to your local 7-Eleven, and if you ever see those papers, they got these local papers. There's one here in town. It's called Mugshots, and it's sitting up there by the counter. It's kind of like that impulse buy, and you can look at all the lowlifes that got arrested. Whether it's drug charges or this was armed robbery, but then so many of them the sex offenders. You just see these lowlifes, and I mean, these people with money are no different, but they can get away with it, because they can buy these. And look, it's a sad, pathetic world that we live in, but you've got some teenage girls where sex is not taboo like it was. It's not demonized. So to them, hey, I mean, this guy's going to pay me 10 grand. I go to this island and make a bunch of money. Sadly, there's a lot of 16-year-olds, 15-year-olds, maybe, who knows, younger, certainly 17. They're going to say, hey, that's quick, easy money.
And his brother came out to Tucker Carlson and said that he believes that somebody that's a very high up individual killed Epstein. Like his own brother doesn't think it just was suicide. And if you look at the coroner report, you look at the autopsy, and you look at everything, and you look at the pictures, the way his neck, where it was, it just didn't line up with how somebody, looks when they hang themselves. It just looked like it was.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I would say it
looked like aggressive force. It looked like
maybe
something, that.
And you know what I would say to his brother? I would say your brother's a low-life scum. I think you know that. This is you. There's clearly this guy has had his life been sleeping around with the young girls. He's a multimillionaire, has his own island, and now he's going to get raped. He's going to get raped.
Right. There were like 20 people in that cell block and his cell was open. Maybe somebody just.
No. But you're not hearing me. You're not hearing me. Your brother was going to get raped. He was going to become what he had done to all these young girls by a bunch of big, ugly, nasty, smelly men. He was going to be tossing people salad. So you think your brother didn't have a desire to kill himself? Clearly, he's morally corrupt. Clearly, he has an empty soul anyway. Probably doesn't believe in life after death, because he was living his life as if there was no end. So seriously, you really question that your brother would commit suicide? I mean, he's living on an island on the top of a mountain with all this money, the most famous, richest people, and all the young girls he could ever want. And now he's going to a jail cell where he's going to toss somebody's salad. Yeah, to guys pathetic lowlifes like that, predators, scum of the earth, cowards. Yeah, going to prison ain't a real pretty picture for them. And he coward, and he was a coward anyway. So I believe he killed himself. You know, guys like that, he has no reason to live. What's he gonna fight out?
Could you give attention to the narrative that, considering all he knew, maybe he didn't kill himself? Maybe somebody had this planned and they wanted to keep him quiet and take him out before he could really reveal what was going on? I mean, is that something you would?
I mean, I don't know how you know. You got Maxwell. She's out there with the black book. I mean, we're going to kill everybody. How come she's, the reason why I don't give that much credence, look, I don't say it's not possible. Yeah. But I say only a tiny. I'm way, 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 way more convinced that this guy is a cowardly scum. He's a low life predator. Guys, they're not tough guys. They're not tough. And he knew exactly where he was going. I mean, he'd kind of been there before.
Well, with all that money, though, doesn't he get the greatest protection?
Oh, no. You don't get the fancy cell. No. When you're that kind of a sex predator.
No, I'm talking about if he was going to be found guilty, because you were mentioning earlier in the conversation, he knew where he was going. He knew what he was going to endure, what he was going to be experiencing. But I thought if he would have got charged, all the money he has, he would have paid for like the greatest protection in prison, and nobody would have ever done it.
That doesn't work that way. I mean, maybe in the movies, man, but it doesn't work that way. Where they got sneak a bunch of $100 bills in there. So look rapists don't fare well in prisons, and especially a guy like that. I mean, he would have just had this target. And look, and even in spite of any of that, no guy goes, unless you're the mafia. No guy goes into prison like that. I mean, think about this. This guy is a soft palm, manicured fingernails, little faggoty ass pedophile. He's going to prison, man. And he's everything in his mind of what prison is. It's just churning and churning. And he knows exactly what he's going to get. He knows what happens to rapists in prison. Everybody knows. He knows he's going to be this little scrawny, pathetically weak loser. And they are going to prey on him just because he preyed on so many people. Not because they like it, but because it's all about power and control and punishment in prison. So he knew that was him. It was going to be the rest of his life, and he was going to have to endure that. It's not like, I just got to get you a couple of years and I'll have it. No. He was going away forever. He knew that. Like, you think a guy like that wants to live forever after the life he's led? Come on, man. I mean, this guy, I'll hang myself. And that's why I believe he killed himself. And the fact that, how come the other lady's still running around and, throwing out, she's in prison, throwing out little tidbits of information here and there. How come she's not dead? She's probably got more of the juice than Epstein anyway. I mean,
why do you think he got away with everything for so long? I mean,
well, he got that sweetheart deal in South Florida. I mean, look, right. Why any wealthy people? Why did OJ walk free from murdering two people, slashing him to pieces? How did he get away with money and connections? And for OJ, it was this celebrity status, plus him being black and pretty much having an all black jury. So you look at for Epstein. And he's bought his way out of everything, every problem, where he's got some sweetheart deals going on. And, like anything else, people don't see these multi-millionaires and billionaires. They don't see him as a real threat. Yeah, he's got a problem. These people have what? But then you take the average scum on the street, the guy who I see in the cover of mugshots, he's a threat, and they lock him up and throw away the key, which they ought to do. but because he's a lowlife, you know, he's not buying Rolls Royces in $1 million apartments and spending, you know, money all over the place and giving to, you know, giving to politicians all over the country and entertaining all these people. He's just a low-life street thug that, you know, preyed on some young girl. But, you know, Epstein, he's not a threat. He just likes young girls. I mean, Trump threw him out of the Mar-a-Lago because there were some complaints. And Trump always said, like, the guy likes young girls. I mean, Trump always said that about him. You know, which in that circle, like the Harvey Weinstein circle, that means the guy's a pedophile. That's what that means.
Right. Crazy.
Yeah.
I wonder, with all these names coming out, if anything will be done. I mean, it doesn't seem like it. I mean, I wonder if we'll find out more information eventually. I wonder if
I suppose if girls start coming forward and there's some credible evidence, and you know, I've heard that there were some videos, maybe some videos out there with Clinton. I don't know. I mean, you start pulling out videos and, you know, eyewitness testimony. It can be problematic for any individuals that are involved there for sure.
Right. Yeah, and you think about all these people, all these names.
And you got to know that Epstein probably had cameras everywhere.
And how
I would I would be
they say he was the ultimate
voyeur.
Yeah, he loved to get people for blackmail. Like, he loved using stuff over their head, and, you know,
what better way to protect yourself when you you know, when you have the power to implicate all these other people? I mean, what better way to protect? I mean, look, there's nothing better than somebody who wants to live the life like him and insulate himself from any legal recourse than having all the dirt on the most powerful people in the country. I mean, you know, that's why I say the majority of people that went to his island, you know, after, okay, not the early ones, but, you know, year after you got that, if you're going to his island, you were going there for bad things. And maybe it's even just those weirdos. You remember that Tom Cruise movie where he's what was it, Eyes Wide Shut? Remember that?
Yeah, Stanley Kubrick. Yeah.
I mean, maybe even just that, these weirdos on some island with their freaky seances and cult, you know, cult worshiping services and blood sacrifice. Who knows? Who knows?
Go ahead.
But it probably wasn't. It wasn't a godly retreat for people to get closer to the Lord. Suffice to say.
Well, there's been reports, and I don't think they've ever been fully verified, but he had strong connections, and he even worked alongside the Mossad, Jeffrey Epstein. I don't know if you would ever give that much thought. Would you be surprised?
I mean, what's the Mossad going to use him for other than, you know, getting dirt on leaders? Maybe I don't know. Look, Jeffrey Epstein was a pussy. The guy was a weak, pathetic piece of crap.
Right.
It's not like he was a tough guy. Mossad's tough. They're tough people.
He got lucky. He networked with the right people. He, you know, was a individual that was a go-getter, and he got lucky. He got lucky. The guy
but people in the Mossad are tough.
I don't think he went to college. I don't think he did he? I don't know.
I don't think he graduated. No.
Right. Go ahead, sir. As you're saying.
No, people in Mossad.
And then he got involved with Les Wexner, the guy was a big name, big money man. And then from there on, I think it just became this trend where Epstein would get all these big clients. But I think was it Wexler, his first big one?
I don't remember.
Let me see.
But you know,
Leslie, yep. Leslie Wexner, the Victoria's Secret billionaire. Yep, that was his first big client.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they all start, and you know, some of them rise to the top. Look at Bernie Madoff. Before he made off with everybody's money, he was kind of legit, making some money, and then he just took it to a whole nother level.
And did you know? Wait, is his name? Hold on a second. No way. Is that actually true? Give me a second here.
I wonder who's getting the island. Did Epstein have any kids?
No, as far as I know, no.
I wonder what that.
But going back to this, did you ever look into how he would go about managing people's money? Like what his formula was?
No. I mean, I did. I don't remember though.
Yeah. And that house he had, God, in New York City, I think if I'm not mistaken, it was the biggest residence in Manhattan.
Yeah, it was at the time. Yeah, yeah, huge. And look at, well, I don't know how big was that island. I mean, he had a couple islands down there. I think it was massive, hundreds plus acres.
Yeah, and then he had that property in New Mexico that everybody thought was really creepy.
The guy because he was a creep. The guy was
Right.
scum, man, scum of the earth.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and you ever see that Bill Clinton painting where Bill Clinton is in a dress? And Jeffrey Epstein had that hanging in his house.
really.
Yeah, and he also had a picture of George W. Bush having a paper airplane, a picture of George W. Bush with a paper airplane pointing at a plane, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, yeah. Did he have that painting of Clinton right next to his one of Oscar de la Hoya?
No, I don't know where it was,
Clinton
but
probably really did like getting dressed up in a dress. Probably was it a black dress,
yeah.
size Monica Lewinsky,
But where are all these
double X.
videos? If they have these videos, where do you think they are? Do you think they were destroyed? Because his properties were raided. You know they looked everywhere. They weren't going to leave anything out.
Well, I mean,
Is, is there
look
stuff,
at.
is there stuff hidden that he hid on purpose? Thinking that he could maybe use it against people someday. I don't know.
Yeah, there might still be stuff buried in the islands there somewhere. I don't know how his fortune was confiscated and what happened to it all. It's probably all held in probate for all the people that are going to come forward and sue the estate, and
He
want to
he
get paid
had
out of
to
the
have
state.
he had to have had this planned out though and thought out when he invited all these big name people to his facilities, to his residences. I mean, the
I don't think it
whole
just happened overnight. I think it's something he'd been doing for years. I mean, I think he'd been involved with people and shady activities like that for years, and then he kind of developed this idea. Hey, I can just let's do it on an island where we can do it in much more secret and kind of have our own little playground.
What about your buddy? Bill Gates? He's gone there. He's
Oh
been
yeah.
around Jeffrey many times. He loves Jeffrey. That's his
Look, I
buddy.
don't put it past any of these people, any of these uber rich people that are weirdos anyway. Here's the thing. People it's one thing to be rich and just let everybody have a good time, whether I don't like Mark Cuban, but Mark Cuban, but when you're the uber rich and you're talking about depopulation and you're talking about there's too many people on the planet, those are the people I trust the least. Those are the most vile people. When you're telling the world there's too many people and we have a population crisis and a climate crisis, those kind of people are weirdos. And so I don't put past any of them. There's nothing that I could imagine that I think would be too immoral for those people. So there's the Bill Gates depopulation and wanting to the guy essentially wants to sterilize everybody in Africa and all of the third world countries. So these are the kind of people, that mentality that it shows you they have zero regard for humanity, for life, for this idea of being fruitful and multiplying. No, because they almost have a this contemptuous attitude toward mankind as a whole, and we're robbing the planet. Well, really, it's about you're robbing me. You're using up resources that I could be using. Too many of you. Get rid of so many of you low lives and give more to my. Even though they don't realize that it's all those low lives that without them they wouldn't have a business or they wouldn't have a fortune. But that's irrelevant to these people. So it's that mentality, that disgust for humanity, that people like that can easily take a 10-year-old girl and have his way with it, or a 12-year-old girl. They can easily do these vile things with little boys and whatnot,
Right.
because they clearly have, just, they have no regard for humanity anyway.
Right.
They're driven, their God is their belly, and that's what they serve. And they just fill it anytime they're hungry with whatever they feel like.
And Harvey Weinstein's name is mentioned quite a bit. Not surprising. Not surprising.
Yeah.
Harvey, your buddy Harvey, dude.
I
Your
mean,
buddy Harvey, the casting couch king, the guy that invented the casting couch.
Harvey might do well, but he's another sociopath. He might do well to come clean and start, talking about some of the things he saw there.
Right. And you know what? You can't really rape the willing. I think a lot of these girls were willing to fuck him for movie roles. And then when Me Too came around, because it was a popular trend and all these women were coming out with their stories, I feel like a lot of the women that fucked him consensually came out and screamed rape for attention.
But that was my point.
Do I think he raped maybe a few girls? Maybe, but
it doesn't matter though.
Do I think overall it was consensual? Absolutely. Overall, most girls, do I think they willingly fucked him? Yes. For movie roles, that's part of the game in Hollywood. So many of these girls get on their knees and open up their pussy for, big time movie roles. This is not a secret.
Well, but that's why I said before that unfortunately we live in a country where, there's nothing immoral about sex and teenagers,
Right.
and they don't see it as a scarlet letter anymore. They don't see, and it's all about money. We're so focused on having money and getting money today that you get some 16-year-old that doesn't see anything immoral with sleeping with a 60-year-old man. And oh, by the way, she's going to get 10 grand for it or whatever she got paid.
Yeah, get that money.
And think about it. $1,000, $5,000, $10,000 to somebody like that. It's like, maybe $1 million to an adult,
Right.
to them.
Well, depending on how they spend it. I mean,
no, it doesn't matter how they spend it. It's just what they see it as.
In today's society that don't know the value of a dollar.
No, I mean, look, you don't, because you're too young. I mean, when I was 15, if I had $20 in my pocket, I was rich. Right. Okay, so let's call it $100 today. Today. So imagine you got $10,000. You're 16 years old. You got a stack of cash like this. I mean, you're filthy rich. You don't ever need to, in your mind, you don't ever need to work again. So sadly, that's why, I mean, just look at the industry, the porn industry. I mean, it's, and what are these people making? It's not even like, I mean, they're not getting rich. I mean, that these women and men would defile themselves like they do for a couple of bucks. I mean, so you're going to go to some guy's multi-million-dollar estate, this giant house or this island, and yeah, I'll do it. Oh, I'm going to fly in his private jet. Yeah, sure. I'm going to get 10 grand. I'm be there for a week. So yeah, so I get it. So they're probably not rape, but you know what? In the laws in this country, the laws are, it is rape. Even if she agrees, it's rape, because she's not mature enough to make those kind of decisions.
Right.
Just like, she's drunk, but she said yes. You know what? She's not capable of saying yes to me, right? So she's drunk. You raped her.
Right. Beta male. No, I agree. I hear what you're saying. Yeah, dude, the whole minor attraction thing is weird. It's weird.
Yeah, but you know what? How many dates you think Bill Gates got when he was 18, 17, 16?
Not very many.
You think that's why you get guys like Brad Pitt or some of the other people. They weren't hurting for dates when they were growing up, good looking guys. They don't grow up and need 15-year-old girls. That's for people like Jerry Seinfeld. I mean, there's a goofy looking ugly dude that probably couldn't buy a date when he was young. So when he was like 30, didn't he have like an 18-year-old girlfriend when he was in his 30s or something ridiculous? He married, I don't know. But you look at these guys, they're ugly dudes, and they were ugly young dudes, so they never got dates. And now they got all this money or all this fame and all this celebrity status, and they could finally get what they never had. It's a sad, pathetic existence.
Exactly. No, it's 100%. Did you hear? Oh, I also want to mention this. Jimmy Kimmel, beta male Jimmy Kimmel was apparently hanging out with Epstein and on
No, this is the only interest I have is Aaron Rodgers.
Jimmy Kimmel's cook was Jeffrey Epstein's cook. That's the thing.
Yeah, but the only
Jeffrey Epstein's business partner too. So that's.
Yeah, but you said before that the only interest I even have in the whole Epstein saga, I could give a damn less.
I love Aaron Rodgers, man. Aaron Rodgers is the greatest.
Yeah. But him and Aaron Rodgers, he's been attacking Aaron Rodgers for a while because the guy's a weird. He's a very insecure, pathetic person anyway. That Kimmel. So Aaron Rodgers just kind of says, nobody wants that list to come out, including Jimmy Kimmel, because obviously, Kimmel for whatever reason. So then Kimmel goes off. Maybe thou dost protest too loudly. He goes off on Aaron Rodgers. You suggesting Rodgers wasn't suggesting that Kimmel was on the island. It was just suggesting he was kind of like digging at Kimmel because Kimmel's been digging at Rodgers for, I don't know, for weeks and months, maybe his anti-vax stance and all this. So it was kind of like his dig back at Kimmel. Plus, Kimmel seemed to be wanting to protect the whole, list of names or whatever. So Kimmel tries to make it into a big thing and threatens a lawsuit. And Aaron Rodgers is like, look, man, I was not suggesting anything. And, I just find the whole Epstein thing only interesting because how it's sucked in Jimmy Kimmel and Aaron Rodgers. I love Aaron Rodgers, and anytime I could see somebody slam Kimmel, who's a complete douchebag, I'm entertained by that.
Oh yeah. So you don't buy into the narrative that Jimmy Kimmel?
No.
So I wanna bring up this round 2 of this whole Nevada judge. Did you see that scenario that happened the other day in the Nevada courthouse where the guy receiving, I don't know if he was receiving a sentence or he was just.
He leaped like a flying monkey.
He leaned out. He attacked the judge. He
looked like he jumped on a trampoline, man. I'm like, dang,
that was insane.
He was like a high jumper or something.
Like boom, and he got wow, it was so quick. It was so aggressive. It was so. Wow.
That was pretty athletic too.
Yeah, dude.
I never seen a guy leap like that right over the
and she threw the book at him. She gave him for that incident. She gave him so many different charges, including attempted murder.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Look,
not a wise move. A judge. That's going to a whole new level.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
We very rarely see that. Yeah. Holy shit, man. That's why it's so talked about. That's why it's so appalling because this is something that is so rare. I'm sure it's happened, but yeah. Wow.
Yeah, you talk about somebody being enraged, because that's not going to end well for you.
Do we blame security for this scenario? Do you think there was a lack of security in the courtroom? Because usually, when you have some bad boys, you have to monitor the situation closely.
Yeah, I guess. Usually guys come in. It
just seems like a guy that's this violent should not have been.
But was he that violent? Did he display that kind of?
Hey, Mark, was he just having a bad day, man? Was he just having a bad day?
He was clear. Obviously, he wasn't shackled. He didn't come in there shackled.
Right.
It's like one of those things. You just don't expect it to happen.
Right.
She's sitting up behind that big desk podium thing, and all of a sudden he leaps and flies. Like, whoa.
This is Magner.
That's pretty crazy.
And she's over 60. So, you attack an old woman that's not good, man. That's horrible.
No, that's not going to help your sentence, pal.
Right. I want to bring this up. This is, there's new data out. Illegal aliens have less than a 5% chance of being deported under Biden. Illegal aliens arriving at United States borders have less than a 5% chance of being deported under Joe Biden. Immigration and Customs Enforcement data reveals.
Of course.
Figures detailed in ICE's fiscal year 2023 report show that illegal aliens arriving under the Biden administration have a very small chance of being promptly deported from the U.S. In fiscal year 2023, more than 3.2 million illegal aliens were encountered at the nation's border, while just 142,000 illegal aliens were deported by ICE agents over the same period. In practice, illegal aliens who arrived in the U.S. last year had just a 4.4% chance of being deported within the year.
Yeah. Yeah, you're not going to, these people aren't going anywhere. I don't think anybody believes they are, even if Donald Trump, the only way is you have to starve them out. You have to pass laws that prevent them from being able to receive any kind of welfare or entitlements. They don't get the free healthcare, but that's not going to happen. Right. I mean, you got states like California that are giving them healthcare. So the only way to get rid of them is something that we're never going to do, and that is shut off all of the entitlements and the education system. That's never going to happen. You know, it's just never going to happen. Look, you should be in this country legally. If you're going to use our education system, that's taxpayer dollars. You got to be here legally. If you don't stop that, these people are going to keep bringing their kids, bringing their families, coming over here, getting the free stuff. I mean, they're not coming over here because they're seeking asylum. They're coming here for free stuff. And I mean, think about it. You got people coming from Sierra Leone, from parts of Africa, from China. I mean, think of the thousands and thousands of miles. Okay, if it's asylum you're seeking, you had to travel 8,000 miles to get free, to get safe. Come on. You know, you crossed 33 countries to get to America. You know, any one of those countries, you would have been fine. Just go there. Raise your hand. I'm seeking asylum. No, of course they're not coming here for asylum. And the fact that this administration entertains that, it's not rooted in any kind of belief or truth that they believe. It has nothing to do with truth or reality. It's all about them wanting to fundamentally change, bring in these votes, future Democrat votes, and blow up the federal government that has to take care of them, and get more people on the government handout programs and dependent, and keep them in power. Because nobody believes that these people are seeking asylum. They're coming here for free stuff, and we're allowing it. And you know what? Republicans are horrible messengers, and I think a lot of them are just plain stupid and ignorant. Yeah. But when you got that little pygmy who's the White House press secretary talking about Republicans are trying, voted against bringing more people to the border, voting, they wanted to cut the customs or border protection. The Republicans don't want to secure the border. Here's what you say. Here's what I would say. Listen. If it's between sending more people down there to process or nothing, or having less people, I'd rather cut them in half, because they're not going down there. The Biden administration doesn't want to send 2,000, 5,000, 10,000 border agents to secure the border. They want to do it to process these people. That's all they're going to do. Like, the last thing I want is for them to be able to process not 1,000 a day, but 10,000 a day. Why the hell do I want that? Because they get a ticket, they stamp it, okay, show up in 2032. You know what? I just assume they wander around in the border in those little tents and those cages or wherever they lay sitting in, and that orange fence where they got to. I just assume they sit there for 67 days, and maybe they'll realize, this kind of sucks, man. I'm going back. But you want to process them in very quickly? If you're going to send the military to the border, to do what? Unless they're going to go into the cartels and shoot the hell out of them and secure the border, or point guns at people crossing the river. Look, you come here, you're getting arrested, and we're shipping you back. You don't come into, unless you're going to enforce a border. I just assume don't send another soul down there. I don't want them processed faster, because the only thing we have right now is the fact that these people are having to shit in a can. They're having to sit, and maybe it gets cold in January. I bet in South Texas it doesn't get that cold, but maybe they hit a freezing temperature, or maybe in the summer it gets so hot that they realize this sucks. This is miserable. We're sitting here for 15 days. We can't get it. What do we have to deter these people? All we have is the fact that they got to sit around and sleep in tents. I mean, look, that ain't much, but at least it's something. I mean, the last thing I want is thousands of more people to process them more quickly. Just get them on in here. And that's what the administration wants to do. Bring more Customs Border agents down there. For what? So they can freaking sign them and get them through the turnstile that much quicker. Yeah, no thanks. I just assume save the taxpayer dollars, less people at the border. Let them sit around. They're just closing off. Hey, listen, we process 50 of you a day. The rest of you sit here. Well, I'm like number 6,002. Well, you're going to be here a while, pal. I didn't tell you to come, 8,000 miles. I didn't tell you to come here. So we'll get to you when you get to you. What's your number say? It's kind of like that Beetlejuice, and the guy had the ticket number 2, and then the other guy's ticket was like number 1,000,000, and he sprinkled some dust over his head again. My point is we don't got much in that southern border, but those people got to sit and wait in line. Why the hell do you want to send more people there just to get them in here quickly? You want to secure the border, then send the military and secure the border. But don't send people down there to process more people. That's bullshit.
Agreed. And Elon Musk is speaking out about this issue. A lot of people are upset. They're furious. And it seems to always happen around election time, like the excessive amounts that come,
Oh, man, no, because, think about it.
Yeah.
Of course. I mean, they're thinking it could be over. They think, look, if Trump gets in, they know this stuff's over with.
They need those votes. They need those votes. Look at how in trouble they are with the minority communities. The Hispanics and the African Americans they're losing so much support. It's crazy.
Yeah, but look, the Democrats been playing this game, the wide open borders, for a long time. So it's not like we need to get more now. No. They're like wide open borders 24/7, 365 days a year. It's
right.
The world, the global community, and the cartels that realize, hey, man, we may be running out of time here. Trump's leading in the polls. This whole boondoggle could be over. We got to get all we can all we get. That's why it's accelerating, not because the Democrats want, we're going to get more people in there. No, the Democrats want as many as they can get all the time. It's the world, the global community, all these people that are realizing, hey, man, there's election coming. If we get a Republican, this whole open borders thing is going to come to a screeching halt. So we better start hauling ass and start getting to that border quickly before it gets election time. That's why you're seeing the uptick. And I'll tell you, by summertime, I mean, I can't even imagine what it's going to look like by next summer and next fall. I can't even imagine.
And look at all the different countries they're coming from. It's not just the southern border. I mean, you've got people from all over the world that are taking advantage of this.
Crossing 15 countries, 20 countries to get to asylum? Come on. That's not how it works. You go to the next border. That's it.
Yeah.
And you call asylum. That's it. But again, it's not about laws. It's not about national boundaries. It's not about national security. It's not about economic security. It's about fundamental transformation. As always, this is homogenization of the planet. This is about massive wealth redistribution. This is about controlling the people. And this is how you do it. This is how the global elites get their way.
Yeah, it's true. It's and the cheap labor really factors in to play too. That's a big one. I mean, they really want that as much as possible because they don't want to pay the American worker what the American worker is worth. They want to get people they can pay for pennies on the dollar.
Yeah, and I think those people are they're misled because the reality is, these guys coming south of the border, non-English, they're not that cheap, man. They are not that cheap.
Well, yeah. I mean, still cheaper, I think, for the most part, than the American worker, right?
Well, not for unskilled labor. It's just American workers. Maybe they don't want to do it. But it's not like they're coming in here and cheap and just taking any job.
So you think the guys at Home Depot, in regards to prices, the ones that stand in the
I had a guy put my wood in my foot. The guy didn't speak a lick of English. He was the same price as the English speaking dude who was bonded and insured. I didn't know. I'm like, who the hell is this guy? Could not speak a lick of English. Didn't know what the hell I was saying.
Right.
And I'm like, well, this ain't saving me any money. And I had another guy. I know he was illegal. Nobody spoke English. He was going to do some crown molding in my condo on the beach.
Right.
He was the same price as the other guy. I'm like, I'll hire the other guy. I'm not going to hire the freaking more than likely illegal. I hired the English speaking guy. He was the same price anyway.
Yeah. And a lot of them send the money back. Don't they?
100%. Billions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars every year. The majority of the wealth. That's why this whole, they're not buying jack shit. They're living 8 to a 1-bedroom apartment, and they're repatriating 90% of their money back to their poor ass countries. So that whole narrative is a false flag. Is a straw man too. That's just a bunch of crap talk. They're not good for the economy. I'm sorry, they're horrible for the economy. They artificially suppress wages. They do in some of this in the skilled areas. But worse, they suck millions and billions of dollars out of the local resources and the state resources in healthcare costs that they don't pay. They don't have insurance. In education costs, it's not free. You go into public schools, it ain't free. And when you can barely speak English, you got to have, bilingual teachers in every classroom. It's just sucking millions of dollars out of local communities, from healthcare to entitlements, Medicaid in the states, education. It's bleeding us dry.
Right.
And not to mention, obviously, the national security risk that it has. And we don't know who the hell's coming in this country. And now we're talking about putting them in the military because our recruiting is so low. They're going to allow these people to be in the military. And then in exchange, okay, we'll give you citizenship. You got to do so much time in the military. I mean, you talk about scraping the bottom of the barrel. They don't even realize that if you're going to serve your country, you have to have a commitment, a loyalty to that country. The only loyalty these people have is the almighty buck. We got greenbacks, and that's it. They're not going to do the right thing. I mean, can you imagine you're going to give these people security clearances or even access or close proximity to things that require a security clearance? Yeah, okay. That's real great for American national security. It's really going to help our military might and strength. You know what? I just assume have the trannies, the snowflakes, and the sodomites fight on the front lines than the illegals.
Well, yeah, you brought up the illegals in the military, as well as law enforcement.
Right.
Here in California, they want them to become police officers. Think about an illegal alien pulling you over and telling you how to follow the law in your own country.
It's incredible.
Think about the hypocrisy. Think about it. Like, wow, they've got some nerve, some audacity.
Yeah. It's just you can't even imagine it. But again, because none of it, it's not about what makes sense, what's logical, what's lawful. It's all about fundamentally changing this country.
Right.
And most of the people that are implementing these kind of programs are just ignorant, taken captive at their own will. They are the useful idiots. But the people that are the decision makers, the puppet masters at the top, the Davos dimwits that sit in secret rooms and pontificate on how they're going to make the world a better place. They're the ones pulling the strings, and they're the ones funding these communities, putting these kind of district attorneys in place, prosecutors, governors. They're the ones that are putting it all together. And the rest of us just sit on the sidelines, and we can yell and scream all we want, but in so many regards, we're just helpless because it's too powerful of a force. It's too powerful of a force.
And I will say, it does feel like this situation is not going to slow down anytime soon. I mean, even if a Republican gets back in power, we're still going to see illegal immigration.
Oh, no. Well, but I will say this. See, this is why they hate Trump. Because like I just said, it's too powerful.
Because there'll be Republican rhinos in Congress and in the Senate.
No, yeah, right.
That push bills to keep these people here, to bring more in. We know how this works. We've seen it time and time again.
I get it. But they hate Trump because Trump the border looked nothing like this. 4 years under Trump, we had none of this. None of it. They hate Trump because, you and I, we sit and was like, okay, we can't make any changes. I always say change in Washington starts right here in your own backyard. But you know what? That requires large groups of people in 435 districts around the country to do exactly what I'm doing. And that's not happening. But if you get a guy at the top, who is going to really be committed to cleaning house, or at least if they think he's going to, and I think he will, Trump will, they fear that most because, you and I down here, we can fight a couple of battles down here, but it's nothing. We're talking about the epicenter of world corruption. And it's right there in Washington, D.C., the city of harlots. Now, imagine you get a guy like Donald Trump who has the power to really strike deep into the state and start to get rid of these people and make some changes, just like he did in his 4 years in terms of not that I agreed with everything that he did on the economy, but when it came to national security and the border, he was outstanding. He was outstanding. And I think he was an outstanding commander in chief. He attacked, killed Soleimani, killed Abu, died like a dog. He killed Baghdadi. Didn't get us into any new wars. He secured the border. I mean, he was outstanding as a commander in chief and as a guy who
didn't build the wall, though. He should have finished the wall.
Yeah, the wall. I mean, he did what he can. At least he was out there doing
500 miles. I mean, didn't he do 500 miles or something?
Well, I don't know exactly how many. He did a lot, but the fact is, the other administration, the other people want to do the exact opposite, and so they hate Donald Trump because Trump is the fighter that we need in 435 districts around the country in the thousands to make changes in Washington. But you get all of that. You get the power of a fighting force in 435 districts in one person on 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. That's why they hate Donald Trump, because he can channel all of that energy, all of that American patriotism and national populism. He can channel all of the people that have that. It's channeled into one person through Donald Trump, and he can have a tremendous and profound impact and really taking a bite out of the deep state. Now, is he going to solve? No, this deep state it's going to take more than one president, but they fear Donald Trump because he can take all that energy in all of that, in all these districts, and it can be concentrated right there in Washington, D.C., and he can have a profound effect for the good against the whole movement of the climate change charlatans and the globalists and the open borders zealots. He'll be a personal affront to them. So that's why they hate him. And frankly, they hate almost all Republicans with the exceptions of, people like Nikki Haley and, Mitch McConnell.
And going back to this whole situation with the illegals and, Espanol, it feels like Spanish in certain ways is becoming more of the main language in this country than English. You go into any DMV, you go into any business, you go anywhere, right next to the English, menu, usually there's a Spanish menu constantly. I don't know if you notice this or if you go into
I know that's worse. Now you notice it in multiple languages. Now you notice it in Chinese. I mean, you'll see some.
And there's even reports that white Americans are outnumbered now by Hispanics, but who knows if that's actually, I mean, I've seen numerous reports. Some say we're not quite there yet. Others have said that they've already overtaken us. As you were saying though, with the Asian, you were saying something.
No, I mean, it's anything but English. We're just, we're homogenizing this country. We're making it look like we're making all countries around the globe look the same. Not only look the same physically, but economically, we're all going to look the same. And it really is sad because we're giving American greatness away. We're not being attacked. We're not being conquered. We're just giving it away. And I mean, I guess that's the thing. I was talking to my son about this today. Look what we did in the American Revolution. Look what we did. Look what we did in building a railroad, in all the people and what it took to do that. And we talk about the barons and, the millionaires of the turn of the century. But could you think we could ever do that again in America, given the lackluster mentality, the laziness, the sluggardness, the entitlement? I mean, you imagine building a railroad today, not without like 57 strikes across the country. You're not going to give us our smoke breaks. You're only going to pay us $5 a day. I mean, we could never do what we did today because Americans have become too entitled and too pathetically lazy, mentally weak, emotionally weak, and spiritually weak. It's a good thing we did it way back then because we could never repeat that today.
And you brought up the whole Hispanic when I talked about the menus and at restaurants and DMVs and businesses. You were going to say something about Asian and other things.
Oh yeah, like on machines, ATMs and machines when you go into banks. I mean, I see multiple language up there. I see things written in Chinese, and of course, any place travel, anywhere in New York City, any of the travel places, Grand Central or Penn Station, any of those places you go. I mean, it's like every language on the freaking map is written in there. Look you can learn our lesson from biblical history. It was punishment when they built the Tower of Babel and they scattered the language. I mean, that was what really caused division in throughout the entire mankind in that time. So it wasn't a good thing to have all these languages. It was actually a punishment because it destroyed unity and created all these divisions in all these other countries. So, and what we're going back to that, so rather than get everybody together and unite under a single English language, no, we're going to create what was a punishment, thousands of years ago, when they built the Tower of Babel, scattered them and confused their language. That was not a good thing. It was bad for society. It was bad for mankind. But here we are embracing that same thing, basically scattering the language here in the United States rather than making people learn English. And it's a massive financial burden. Think about it.
Right.
Just that in of itself. It's a massive financial burden on healthcare industry, on education, and in businesses and companies to have to do that because people come here and they don't look. Oh, you think China's doing that? They don't. I mean, go to France. I mean, maybe people speak English because they learned it, but if you don't speak France, you're pretty much out of luck in French there.
Right. I mean, and I've been making that point for a long time. We can't go to other countries as Americans and just expect that they're going to understand us, and we have to learn their language. We have to learn their culture, and a lot of times these places, they're not very welcoming to Americans. I mean, time and time again, we see it.
No, and you know what? The countries learned English. Why? Because that was the language that would promote economic prosperity to your country. If you didn't learn English, I mean, think about it. The entire world is a pilot flown all over the world. It doesn't matter where I go. I don't care if I'm in China, Japan, South Africa, North Africa. Not that we fly many places in the North Africa, any country in Europe. You know what? The ATC, the approach controllers, speaking in English everywhere. Why? If you don't speak English, guess what happens? American pilots aren't going to fly there. And so the last thing any country on the planet that has an airport wants to do is restrict Americans bringing their money and their wealth and their prosperity into their country. So they understood that the pathway to economic prosperity, learn English. And it's so evident in the world of aviation because, I mean, that we link the world with airplanes, right? You're not going to take a ship anymore to overseas with a big sail. You're not going on the Nina or the Pinta or the Santa Maria to get to the United States. You're flying a jet, a jumbo jet. And every ATC person around the globe speaks English. Maybe they don't speak great English all the time. English. And there's a reason for that.
Yeah. And isn't it fascinating how whenever we want to question this or call it out, we're called
xenophobe.
We're called racist and hateful
xenophobe
by a significant amount of the population. I mean, that's what they've been brainwashed and indoctrinated to tell us. I mean, this is what they've learned. And
but you know what?
It's so far from the truth. I mean, people have to, claim racism for something that is it's honest, saying that somebody should learn the language that's deemed as racist. What the fuck?
Well, but that's because most people don't understand, can frame why. I use the aviation, the worldwide aviation community. It's all in. Why? Why is that? Because that unifies and that creates stability and prosperity, and we can export prosperity around the world. But then you look at the people that built it when they scattered the languages after Babel. That was a bad thing. It was a terrible thing. Mm-hmm. It was disunifying and created divisions and factions. Not a good thing. So I don't say it because, I love English people and I love white people and I don't like anybody else. That's got nothing to do with that. I love prosperity. I love economic opportunities for everybody. You do not have any of that when you divide the languages and you become this multicultural man, it's not about not liking I love my roots and where people I came from, whether it's for people from Israel, people from Italy or from England. I love those, but you know what? This is America, and I love American prosperity and economic opportunity for everybody. And you diminish that severely by establishing all these multicultural boundaries and dividing the language. Right. I just tell people, look, it was a bad thing. The Tower of Babel scattering the languages was a bad thing. Whether you believe the story or not, I mean, we all know that it was a bad thing. And it was very difficult for cultures when you couldn't understand each other in the language. Why do we want to do that within our own country in the United States of America? Why do we want to go backwards in time?
Right. Yeah. I mean, think about how there are more, in many cases, there are more foreign-born citizens than there are American citizens. I think I read a report in 2023 that was the case. Are you surprised?
Yeah, no, I'm not. Well, I mean, look, you look at, and frankly, I mean, among many white families.
I mean, the millions that are coming here. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I mean, they don't have many kids. White families don't have as many kids, very low population growth there. But people are coming here. These immigrants are coming here, and they're either foreign born. Yeah, it's not a good thing, because part of that patriotism comes in this country. We don't have the sense of patriotism in the 20s. We're immigrants. People came here because they wanted to attach themselves to this experiment, to this idea of being an American. And it's not that way anymore. They didn't come here in the 20s. They left what they had. They left comfort. They left maybe money or security or homes overseas to come here with nothing but to attach themselves to the opportunity. The American dream was not all of this wealth. Here you go. It was the opportunity to get that. It was this growth phase that they wanted to be a part of. And now today, it's not that. They're not coming to attach themselves to the opportunity. They're coming to attach themselves to the gratuity, not the opportunity, but the gratuity. And that is the handout that they're getting.
Yeah. And it says here, I agree 100%. We have to cut off the benefits. We have to, really do something. This is just out of hand. The report came out in Texas. There are more Hispanic males than there are white males now in the state of Texas.
Oof. Yeah. Well, yeah, and they're going to
more Hispanic males than white males in Texas. I mean, we're talking about Texas here. We're not talking about fucking, I mean, this report.
I mean, Texas has always been highly Hispanic, but I wonder how many are foreign born. Yeah.
I'm just looking it up. Hold on. Yep. Hispanics now officially make up the biggest share of Texas population. This report, wow, dude. That's insane, dude. I mean, there's a lot of American-born Hispanics. I understand that, but still, that's crazy. That's it. We're talking about Texas again. Talking about Texas.
Well, I mean, I'll tell you, I'm less concerned, honestly, about those the Hispanics, because many of them are hardworking people. Less, and not that I'm not concerned, they shouldn't be coming here illegally anyway. I'm much more concerned with people that are coming from these third world countries. And I'll tell you, they are dangerous people. They don't have a regard for human life. Many of them have zero regard they're coming from war zones. I mean, some of these countries in Africa are war zones, Haiti. I mean, just look at that place in Haiti. And they're coming by the tens of thousands every month from these kind of countries. And, those are the people we need to really be concerned about. Really, it's just not a pretty picture. Not a pretty picture.
I agree. And speaking of foreign countries, South Korea lawmakers cut dog meat from national menu. South Korea lawmakers on Tuesday passed a bill banning the breeding, slaughtering, and selling dogs for their meat. The move ends a centuries-old practice activists have slammed as a national embarrassment. South Korean cuisine has long featured dog meat, and at one point up to 1 million dogs were killed for the trade every year, according to activists cited by AFP. But consumption has sharply declined recently as Koreans welcome pet ownership in droves and embrace loving their four-legged friends rather than eating them. AFT reports official support for a ban has grown under President Yoon Suk Yeol, a self-professed animal lover who has adopted several stray dogs and cats with First Lady Kim Keon-hee, who is herself a vocal critic of dog meat consumption. The bill, which was proposed by both the ruling and main opposition parties, was passed unanimously by a 208-0 vote. Under the law, raising or slaughtering dogs for consumption will be banned, as well as distributing or selling dog meat. Those found guilty of doing so could be sent to jail. Where was I reading that? Well, according to the government statistics seen by the BBC, South Korea had around 1,600 dog meat restaurants and 1,150 dog farms in 2023.
We used to joke about that when I lived in South Korea. Dogs and cats. I mean, they just eat it. In China, in the Chinese restaurants in America, you've always heard that. You never see any cats around.
You got to be careful.
Yeah. But it's just disgusting. I'll tell you, I used to go to the markets, and I'm just telling you I don't know why. And they talked about the bats in the Chinese markets, and I mean, I've been to all those markets: China, Thailand, and Korea. It's just. All right, look, I'm a Westerner, American raised, American cooking. It's just nasty. I'm sorry, just nasty. The smell. I mean, like we eat beef jerky. They eat things like squid jerky. And if you've ever smelled that stuff, it's just disgusting. I went into a buffet in Korea, and we've got these buffets here. And if you've ever heard of Golden Corral, I mean, got all these meats, all this stuff. Well, I mean, I don't even know what I was seeing in that stuff, but some of it I think was still moving. My wife and I we looked in there, we kind of took a smell and took a look, like, yeah, we're going to pass on this. It's just a different culture. In Thailand, you go on in the street, like you buy street meat in Manhattan, you get a hot dog or whatever. In Thailand, they'll have a little pile of maggots, dead fried, or crickets, or little tree frogs, some kind of worms, and they just scoop them up, put them in a little baggie, put some salt on there. And I mean, I saw a girl buy a little bag of crickets. They were fried crickets. Another one of these like white it's just, look, as a Westerner, it turns your stomach. These people, I mean, it's food for them, but definitely culture shock for me. So yeah, good on them for stopping the slaughtering and butchering and eating of dogs.
Do you think
you come a long way? They're about 1,000 years too late, but okay, better late than never.
I mean, you spent a lot of time overseas in various countries. Do you think you ever consumed any dog or anything dirty like that?
I don't know, man. We used to call this, it's called hakiman. It was like fried stuff in the streets in Korea. It was really good, that stuff, the fried bat or whatever they do in the streets, but who the hell knows what we're eating?
Do they have to disclose it? If you're a tourist and you buy something, do they have to disclose?
Oh, on those little street carts? Yeah, I mean, you just eat hakiman, whatever's in the hakiman. I don't know.
What about restaurants? Do they have to disclose? I mean, they can't be sneaky like that, can they?
The only restaurant I went to that was that one, like I said, that whatever, a buffet. And I saw, I'm like, oh, let's just check it out. I'm like, and after that, I stuck. They had one that was called Puffins. It was very Americanized. It was in the town of Pyeongtaek, which is where Osan Air Base is located, the Air Force Base. So lots of Americans there. So I had a great filet mignon, great steak. They had these great beef tacos. Awesome restaurant. One of my favorites. And then there was another place that just served rice and chicken. And another was a sushi place, but I pretty much stuck to those 3 restaurants for the whole year I was there. I didn't want to go off and go any place that, I wasn't sure about, because I never knew what the hell I was going to be eating.
Right. No, for sure.
If it smelled weird, I just wasn't going in. And they had an Outback in Seoul, an Outback Steakhouse. We used to go there a lot too.
What other countries eat this kind of shit? I can only imagine. I mean, there's probably quite a few, right?
They eat all of Asia, all of Asia.
But
I
eat
mean,
dog
everyone.
and eat cat, and even other countries in Asia, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, all of them eat kind of weird stuff. Every
No, but
one
I
of
mean,
them.
besides Asia, I feel like other areas do it too.
Man, I
Like,
don't know other countries that are eating maggots and tree frogs. I don't know. Maybe
oh
they do
man,
in maybe, but here's how you tell. Just look at Hispanic, Central America. They're all kind of fat, doughy people. So it's not like the average girl looks like this in Thailand. You know what I mean? Because you
tiny,
eat on crickets. It's like
tiny.
John the Baptist. Honey and locusts. That's all that guy ate. So he was probably lean and mean.
Right.
But you go to some of these Central American countries and South America, they're kind of doughy and soft. They're eating a lot of tortillas and all that kind of stuff. But
Right.
most of the bugs and the cats and stuff, that's kind of the Asian communities, and it kind of stands to reason because there aren't many fat Asians. I mean, in Korea, you didn't see too many fat Korean girls.
No,
Not
I
like
hear
in
you.
America.
In America, you have all these health regulations with serving food, having a business, even with street carts. Uh,
Yeah, absolutely.
I imagine over there that's not really a
I
thing. I
mean,
mean,
I wasn't
not as
getting into those who were complying, but it didn't look like there were any licenses posted out on their little fry cart.
right.
Some old, looked like she was like 97-year-old Korean lady with no teeth, frying this whatever in the
Weird.
pan and throwing a little bag and, put a little sauce on it. It was pretty good.
Funny. Funny. Speaking of food, Chris Christie dropped out of the race.
Oh, Chris Christie.
Krispy Kreme,
Christie.
chocolate sundae.
I thought, you know what? I think he was probably, I think, you know why he got out? Because he wanted to get out before New Hampshire, because he knows he doesn't have a snowball's chance in Hades, but he doesn't want to take away from Nikki Haley, because Nikki Haley has a shot maybe in New Hampshire of beating Trump. But the only reason why she could possibly beat Trump is two reasons. Number one, get Christie out of there because he did have some votes. He's kind of popular up there, maybe. But a lot of Democrats, this is an open primary. A lot of Democrats are going to open for Nikki Haley. And I think that Christie just wanted to come out of the race. Hey, I don't want to get out because he wants Trump to lose. And the only chance that he has is, or that Nikki Haley has in New Hampshire is, get less people in the running. So all the Democrats can vote for Haley rather than vote for Haley or Christie. So.
Yeah, and the next debate, who's going to be on the stage again?
It's tonight. I think it's just Nikki Haley and DeSantis.
Oh, is it at 5?
Huh?
Is it at 5?
I don't know, but I think it's tonight. It's so uninteresting. I didn't even bother
And
looking.
Vivek Ramaswamy will be there.
I think he's protesting it or not going.
Oh, Nikki Haley and Ron DeSantis.
Yeah, I think Mistake Ramaswamy said, I ain't going there. He's kind of like in this protest move. He's looking for a job with the Trump administration.
Yeah, I hear you. Says here, Kim Jong-un says that North Korea has no intention of avoiding war with South Korea. It's inevitable at this point.
Yeah,
So,
whatever.
He loves to hear himself talk. He loves to hear himself talk.
Yeah, they've been saying the same thing for since 1955. The war never ended. It's like, hey, fat boy, do you know that the war never ended? It's an armistice. There's never been a cessation of war. You're still at war, theoretically. They signed an armistice. So the North Korea-South Korea war never really officially ended. So, I mean, for what that's worth.
Did you see Hunter Biden today? Some reporter asked him, what's your favorite kind of crack to smoke, Hunter? What's your favorite kind of crack? Or it was either today or yesterday?
I think it was yesterday because he went to the Capitol to listen to the hearings on holding him in contempt.
And little midget elf boy Fauci was taking questions. A lot of I don't recall.
Yeah, I think he cited that like 40-something times.
I don't recall.
Yeah,
like
40-something times he said that. Lying bastard.
Go ahead.
Lying bastard. You know what? What needs to be so story needs to be told is that he's responsible for 10 million deaths. 10 million deaths.
Yeah.
One of the biggest Holocaust is on his shoulders.
Yeah, and they're not doing anything about it. They're not.
You know what gets me is it's such partisan crap. Why would Democrats want to stand by this guy and defend him? I mean, look, it's your sons and daughters. It's your relatives that died too.
Right.
There's absolutely no reason why you would want to defend him, but it's been a complete partisan show, a goat rope.
Yeah.
That the Democrats are praising Fauci and the Republicans want answers. Why should this be a partisan issue? I mean, COVID killed millions of people. They didn't care if you're a Republican or a Democrat. Why the hell would you? But just goes to show that's why this is the city of whores, man. Washington, D.C., the city of rank, filthy, disgusting, unwashed whores. And that's all it's about here. And it's a complete partisan hack job that the Democrats are going to stand behind Fauci. And he's never going to be held accountable. He's never going to be held accountable.
Yeah. Above the law. Above the law. Did you hear about Mike DeWine in Ohio, the governor?
Yeah, what a douche he is, too.
Yeah, these are the type of jerk-offs, assholes that make the Republican Party look like a joke, look like a clown show. Backing up, defending transgender surgery.
Well, because you know what? Her mother told him that were it not for their child getting the transition therapy, that child would have killed himself. Yeah, okay, well, for every one child that says that, yeah, good for you for listening to your freaking 8-year-old. You're such a mature, that child is in such great hands that the mother, when your kid wanted a Snickers bar for breakfast and then for lunch and then for dinner and then to go to bed, did you give them the Snicker bar 4 times a day too? And when they want to drink, instead of drinking milk, did you give them Kool-Aid? Did you give them Kool-Aid so they got rotten teeth? I mean, look, these stupid idiot parents, but that's why mother told him that kid would have killed himself. Well, you know what? There's 20 kids behind that one that did kill themselves because they went through with that therapy and they were depressed to the point of suicide. So what about that statistic, Governor, drink too much wine? You're 20 times more likely to commit suicide when you do this. There's nothing wrong. Look, you want to do it when you're of age? Let him do it. So what if my kid says, if I don't get to drink vodka every night, Mom, I think I'm just depressed. I need the vodka. I want to drink vodka. I know I'm only 13. I need the vodka. So you'd put me in jail in a second. This is 1,000 times worse than giving your kid a glass of vodka every week. You're permanently destroying them. So for every one that says this at 13, look, there are hundreds that have actually gone through and killed themselves because they didn't have the parents with the fortitude and the intelligence to say, you know what? You move out of my house, you turn 18, you can do that. You're not going to do it under my roof. I have a responsibility and obligation. Yeah. But no, because it's not about that. Because what I'm saying is what makes sense, what is logical, what is rational, what is health conscious. It's not about that. It is about fundamental transformation. People are not about peaceful coexistence. They are about fundamentally transforming. They're going to force it down your throat. Not only are you going to be forced to capitulate, but you're going to be forced to participate.
And the fact that so many parents have been influenced and brainwashed and indoctrinated by these politicians and these movie stars to go along with the narrative that their child can be whatever they want. 10 to 20 years ago, anybody would have found this ludicrous. But they have so much faith in these movie stars, these politicians, that these people with these followings, it goes a long way to.
Is it any surprise when you've got 45-year-old mothers with big boob jobs and skirts hiked up their ass and taking selfies and getting lip injections? Is it any surprise that the freaks that are mothers and fathers today, if the father's even involved in their kid's life, would fall prey to this woke mentality? And yeah, my kid's really good. It doesn't surprise me because, again, it's not about the well-being of this kid. It's about these narcissistic, disgusting parents that want to say, look at me. These are kind of like 40-year-olds that want to be internet sensations, that want to be influencers. It's like, get over it, man. It's time to move on. When I was a child, I spoke as a child. I understood as a child. I thought as a child. When I became a man, I put away childish things. It's time to put away childish things, but they don't. They never do. They're pathetic infants in their mind. And it's all about me. Look at me. Oh, this is my daughter. Well, it's your daughter. Looks more like a boy. No, it's my daughter. No, they want the attention. It's kind of their way of virtue signaling.
Right.
Because none of it makes sense. Why would you really put your child in a position where they might kill themselves? You not know that? your child goes through this, is going to be forever changed. It's a very good chance, a 20 times greater chance, they're going to kill themselves. And because of you, what you allowed them to do, are you comfortable with that?
Right.
And if a parent says no, then they're either ignorant or they're a liar.
Right. It's out of this world, man. Think about the damage that's being done to these kids mentally, and how later on these parents are not going to be able to forgive themselves.
Yeah. Oh, they'll rationalize it somewhere. You know what
I
they'll
know,
say?
yeah.
They'll say it's they bullied. It's it's you and I and us. We're these homophobes and transphobes. We did it. We caused them to kill themselves because they could never find acceptance. No, because he used to have a penis and now he looks down and he's got this crazy, smelly, disgusting thing that he doesn't know what it is, and he'd rather be dead than live like that for the rest of his life.
And you did bring up a very good point. How they do have the highest suicide rate. So this does create a big problem and a never-ending epidemic. This is a dangerous road, and it's going to lead. All these people that are jumping on the trend too. More and more people want to become transgender.
And don't these
like they look at magazines, they watch movies, they watch all this programming on TV. You have these schools teaching kids this. Oof, go ahead.
Well, don't they get it that this is $1 billion? You're a sucker.
Yeah,
man.
it's
You're
new abortion, like we talk about. It's a new abortion.
Yeah, you're getting used, man. You're getting promoted. They're using you.
Money.
But again, you're talking about expecting a lost soul, extreme narcissist, sociopath, sycophant who happens to be unfortunately raising children to make intelligent, rational decisions. And it's just not going to happen. So
Right. Well, absolutely. We got a few minutes left. I want to transition here. The Florida Republicans are ousting the state party chairman facing rape allegations in a critical election year. You probably have thoughts on this. You're down in Florida.
Yeah, I do. It's like, boy, the guy does nothing. Like, who are these people? I go to these meetings and these the ROP, FROP, Florida Republican Party or whatever, Republican Party of Florida. What the hell does he realistically do? And the sooner they get this guy out, the better. He's just a immoral person. And, him and his wife like to do swinger things and hang out. And that's what he did. And except the woman that he was was more interested in his wife than him, apparently. And so she's like, they had this deal where him and his wife were going to get together with this woman. Then he calls her up, says, my wife can't make it. So the woman's like, I ain't interested. Well, this idiot shows up anyway. Well, I guess they got to, tipping a few cocktails, and one thing led to another. Before I know it, he's doing what he did, except without the wife. And the next day, the woman, she's crying rape. I'm not cool with that. She obviously consented. But, the point is, the way I look at people like that is maybe you didn't rape her, but I don't really feel sorry for you. If you get convicted of rape, if you go to jail, if you lose everything, I don't really feel sorry for you. Whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. You want to sow to the flesh, you will of the flesh reap corruption. And that's what you're getting. Now, will it be, but it doesn't really matter if it's rape or not rape, you're convicted, if you did it or not, when you're wrongfully convicted. The fact is if you would have stayed home and not been the kind of person that you are, stay with it, then none of this would have happened. None of this would have happened. So blame yourself. Don't blame the crazy. Clearly the woman is a little, off her rocker. She wants to be with you and your wife. Something wrong with her. Something wrong with you that you're okay with that and you want to do it too. So, why should you be surprised when, you're playing with a bomb and it blows up? Why should that surprise you? Nitroglycerin is very volatile and very unstable when it gets old. So why should you be surprised that it all blew up and got ugly?
Is his career over and will he end up in jail?
I don't know if he'll end up in jail because there's a lot of incriminating stuff,
right,
that she's got, that she's not like, he snuck up on her and raped her. But he's done with politics. That's for sure. He can start hanging out with Joel Greenberg, and maybe him and two of them can start hanging out. He was the tax collector that went to jail, Matt Gaetz's buddy. So I mean, there's not much left for him. But then again, what is the head of the Florida Republican Party? I mean, like, big deal. Who are you? Nobody even knows who the guy is anyway.
Right. Looks like we did good yesterday in Virginia. There were blowouts yesterday, special election. A pair of Republicans protected 2 seats in the Virginia state legislature on Tuesday night in blowouts against Democrats. But a key takeaway is that they both reportedly outperformed former President Donald Trump's showing in their respective districts in 2020. Interesting.
Yeah.
So
I mean, look, there's a lot of Republicans retiring.
Yeah, go ahead.
A lot of Republicans are retiring in Congress. And, most of them are in strong seats. People are like, well, why are they leaving these strong seats? Like, I guess they could think they can understand it if they were leaving, a seat that was going to be close. But, Republicans don't really play that. They're not cowardly like that. If they get, if it's going to be a tight race, oftentimes you'll see Republicans, I'm going to fight it out. But I mean, if you're in a strongly Republican seat, I think it's even easier for me to want to retire. If I've been in Washington with these prostitutes, like the last thing I want to do is spend more time. I mean, there's only so much time you can work in the sewer before you finally just get sick and tired of the stench. And so if you're a strongly Republican district, hey, you know what? It's not like you're going to betray your country. It's not like, I can't get out because I'm a No, you get out because, like, whatever, we'll get another Republican, and I'm not, you know what I'm saying? I'm not betraying my party. Now, if it was going to be a tight race and they really needed your incumbent push to get you over the edge to protect that Republican seat, yeah, I can kind of see it. But if you've got a strong Republican districts, that's actually a catalyst, or would be a huge factor in making you want to get out.
Right.
Look, I don't know how people stay in Washington as long as they do. It's just, look, you can't trust anybody.
Right.
The worst people in America go to work in Washington. The worst people.
Right.
So,
and according to a report from Ross Story, speaking of prostitutes, at least 39 members of 118 Congress members have violated a federal insider trading and conflicts of interest law.
Yeah, and I mean, it's hard.
There's more than 39 though, but this is just what the report specifies.
Probably.
Yeah,
but I mean, it's hard to really, know exactly what happened without knowing every single situation in the story and all of it. Because, I mean, yeah, there's a lot of insider trading that can go on in Washington when you know that there's rumblings, but it's not as easy and as egregious as people think. It's not like they're getting behind in Congress and they know this law is going to come out. They're going to make a huge change. Now, if there was a defense budget and you knew that you were talking about buying, another 100 F-35s, and okay, so you're going to go and you're going to buy, you're going to go buy calls for Boeing options because Boeing's got, but most of the stuff that's going on in Washington, it's not going to have like a huge, profound, immediate impact, but it will in some cases. And the people that are savvy, like Pelosi's husband, they can definitely profit over the kind of information. But the average person in Congress, I mean, other than the stock tips they're going to get from the, because unless you sit on these committees, you don't really know what's going on. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of it, hey, scuttlebutt, hey, this is coming down the pipe. You might want to do in this. It's not a whole lot different than you're going to get working on Wall Street. But by the same token, these are the rottenest people, like I just said. These are the horrible, immoral people in America. Many of them go to work in Washington. So does it surprise me that they would abuse their position of power to ingratiate themselves financially? Hardly.
Did you see Gary Gensler, the SEC Twitter account hacked, saying that Bitcoin was approved, and then it basically was giving all this wrong, misleading advice to investors? I mean, this is serious stuff.
Well, coming from an organization,
all was basically an apology. That's all they give. Crazy.
Coming from an organization and an individual that would demand accountability for any business that failed the way he failed. that would fine you, that would sue you, that might even jail you, that would lock people up, or definitely to fine them for hundreds of millions of dollars if they did the same kind of things that these guys did, having slack off and not having the proper controls and password protections or double, triple, quadruple verification, whatever. I mean, this is the same guy in the same organization that has held countless people accountable and held them financially responsible for the mistakes that they made in the past. And here he is. But again, all part of what we always talk about is do as I say, not as I do. I mean, it goes to show you these people are just a bunch of misfits. They don't even understand securities anyway, the heads of these bureaucracies. So, I mean, clearly, guy doesn't even know enough to how to protect his damn X account.
What he did is the epitome, the definition of market manipulation. And it's market manipulation at its finest level.
Well, if he did it himself,
you're telling me that
he claims he hacked.
You're telling me he was let's just say he didn't do it himself.
I'm taking him at face value. He got hacked. He got hacked. I can't think that the guy is that damn stupid to go out on Twitter and say Bitcoin, the ETF is going to get approved. I can't think he's that stupid.
And then Twitter said it wasn't on their end. It said somebody had a number that was connected to that account, and they did an authentication where, they can get I think a text message or something like that.
Well, I mean, if it was a hack, it shows you again how pathetic the SEC and this guy, the head, is in being able to protect his account. Look, there's every reason for people. I mean, this is the decision is supposed to come out. I mean, it's imminent. I think it was supposed to come out today. Today's the 10th. I think they had to the 10th for preliminary. There's Grayscale. There's I think JP Morgan. There's a number of companies, maybe a dozen or more, that are waiting to launch a Bitcoin-backed ETF. It's a big deal. That's why Bitcoin has skyrocketed in the last couple of months. I think people are buying the rumor, and maybe they'll sell the news, once it comes out. I don't know that Bitcoin is going to climb to 200,000 like people say, just because they think all this institutional money, as soon as the ETF is approved, you're going to get all this institutional money. I don't know about that. I don't know that, all of this institutional money is just going to flood into it just because Bitcoin. Now, I'm sure it'll get a bump, because I think a lot of people don't get involved in crypto because the whole wallet thing and these crypto exchanges is starting the account. It's kind of, I will say, for lack of better words, to the average person out there, an investor and, your retail investor, it's kind of complicated. What is this wallet? What is blockchain? Was it kind of afraid? Bitcoin's huge. Everybody knows about Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, but this whole, how do you get it? And all of that, most average person is kind of intimidated by it. Now, if you offer ETF, where all I got to do is I got a Vanguard, I got a JP Morgan, I got a Grayscale, then it's just easy. Just buy I got this ETF, I've got Bitcoin exposure. So I think a lot of people, retail people, will flow into it. But I don't know if it's going to be enough to where it's going to push the price to 100,000. I mean, I could be wrong. I just don't see that. I think a lot of people were buying the rumor, and once it comes out and actually gets approved, I think a lot of people are going to take their profits, and we've seen a little bit of that anyway. So, I don't put a lot of stock in the SEC. First of all, no guarantee they're going to approve it, but even if they do approve it, I don't think that makes Bitcoin necessarily 200,000. There's predictions of $200,000, I think, by the end of the year.
Do you feel the SEC is compromised? Do you feel like?
First of all, a bunch of bozos, a bunch of bureaucrats that don't know their ass from a hole in the ground with 90% of the things that they're investigating. This is just another government layer of that destroys free market capitalism, and it literally handicaps the American people and the average investors from doing what they should be doing. It's just like everything else. If my parents never let me walk, if they kept me in a freaking cart every single day of my life, I'd be 60 years old, approaching 60, and not able, still be sitting in a wheelchair. You have to let people walk. You have to allow them to learn for themselves and fall and scrape themselves. That's how you learn and you get strong. What the SEC does, and what every bureaucracy in America that stands in the way of the consumer and free markets, is it does the work for them, but they're incompetent. They're grossly incompetent. And then people feel like, I'm safe. Look, the SEC's got me. Oh, the FDIC's got me. I'm good. My bank is secure. Your bank's not secure. it's secure just because the government says it's secure, then why are banks folding? Why have they folded? Why do we have the 1980s crisis with savings and loan? Why do we have the bank crisis back in last March? Because people think they're safe. And when you think you're safe, you don't do your due diligence. And if you did, and you had been doing it for the last 100 years, and all your grandfathers had to, you just would know. You don't just go throw your money somewhere and expect it to be safe. You actually do some work and you educate yourself. That's what due diligence is. But we have taken that completely out of the hands of responsibility of the American people, and we've put it into the hands of Washington, D.C. Look at these idiots. The morons that sit on these finance committees, the idiots that work at the SEC, the morons that work at the federal. Look at the head of the Federal Reserve. He's a lawyer, and even a smart banker investor. So look, any of these organizations in government, all they have done is make things worse. We got worse scandals at hand going on today than we ever did in 1901 before all these things came to fruition.
Yeah, no, I hear you. And you brought up the Great Depression. We mentioned this the other day on the show. America in 2023 has had the slowest population growth since the Great Depression. I mean, that's...
Yeah. And how about this? How about the global population is shrinking, or the average age or life expectancy, rather? The life expectancy is shrinking. And, look, there's a lot of reasons for that. We had a global shutdown. And I think that was had a huge negative impact. Now, I know that people want to say it's the COVID vaccine. I don't know. I wouldn't go far as saying that it's not killing people, because it's an experimental vaccine. Now, I'm not there where I say it was intentional. They want to I know I hear a lot of people say it's depopulation. They want to, I'm not there. I don't have to get there to say that it's a dangerous vaccine that I would never put in my
You think it's a gene therapy, though? You have said...
Well, it's absolutely no, I don't think it is.
Right.
And it's dangerous, and I've never put it in my body.
Right.
And I think people did die. I'm only questioning whether or not it was intention. The intention was to kill people. But I don't have to go there.
But how could it not? You have to question that. You have to wonder because of how fucked up.
I think, Pfizer, Moderna, AstraZeneca, you're talking about hundreds of billions of dollars. Like, right. And you got Trump pushing us. Like, I'm not saying you don't. It's like it's kind of the opposite. But you don't make a light bulb to last 100 years. Right. You want to keep people coming back and buy more light bulbs.
Right.
You don't want a vaccine that's going to kill people. You want a vaccine that's going to keep you coming back for more and more and more. Why would you develop something that's going to kill everybody? And then, holy crap, everybody's dying. Nobody buys it. Man, look, that doesn't even make sense. That is a horrible business model.
I mean,
so that imagines that you got Bill Gates back there and Klaus Schwab, and they're bringing in the CEOs of AstraZeneca and Pfizer, Moderna, all those. Okay, when you do this, we're going to kill everybody. Because if I'm the CEO of Pfizer, what I say? I'm like, what are you, crazy? I'm not doing that. Make you rich maybe, but I want my shareholders to make money for decades. So I'm gonna develop a vaccine. It's gonna work. I think they really wanted it to work.
What's really problematic and troubling is that they're exempt from any sort of liability. Something happens to somebody.
Yeah.
And
that's bad. But that's been the case for years.
No, I know, but that's a problem. That's an issue. Yeah. They're above
in their minds. They say
but that is proof that they're above the law. Think about it.
Yeah, but that's been happening for years. And the reason why they do that is like, well, how are we ever going? In their minds, this is how they rationalize it. How are we ever going to get companies to put in the R&D, the money, the time, the effort in developing these vaccines if they're going to be held accountable? Now, the problem is this is not a vaccine. So it shouldn't be in that category. This is gene therapy. So it should not have the protection. But, they work on it. That's why I call it a vaccine. They don't call it a vaccine in Europe. It's gene therapy. So, the whole point is why they did that originally was to encourage so that we can beat things like polio and, all these other diseases that were coming. And otherwise, I'm not going to touch that with a 10-foot pole. I developed a vaccine to kill a bunch of people and I'm out of business. So I'll let the next guy do it. Let him take a chance. And then I'll just kind of like, when the freaking, patent runs out, I'll produce it and make my money on the backside. So, nobody was going to take that initial step. So that's why they did that. But this is not a vaccine. It was not a vaccine. Right. And who knows if it's killing all these people. definitely killing a lot. But it wasn't just a vaccine. You're talking about a global shutdown. I mean, global. That had look, I saw what it did to my mom. My mom was doing great. She was awesome. She was 89 years old, doing just fine. 88 at the time, doing fine. Life was good. Driving. I bought her. She had a brand new car that I bought her, driving it to get her hair dry. And then COVID shut down immediately. She started developing some, dementia and forgetting, sitting in her house all day. It was horrible, horrible. She wasn't getting exercise. She would go to the pool 4 days a week, 3-4 days a week, doing exercise. None of that. So all of these, and now you're talking about millions and actually hundreds of millions of people who are not getting routine medical checkups. And so is it any wonder that in the last 3 years, people have been dying off before their time. So it's no surprise to me that the global population is decreasing for really like the first time in many, many years. But I don't think it's just vaccine related. I think it's pandemic related.
Right. And I've had Robert Malone on, the creator of the Moderna technology, and other people that are very well informed in the vaccine area. And they said what people have to worry about, the people that got it, is the effects after 3 to 5 years, the long-term effects of these vaccines and the danger.
Gene therapy, which is why it takes 5 years to get approval.
Right.
I don't know, man. Like you always say, that Trump needs to explain, and I don't know that he ever will, or if he ever will. But this is just one of those things that he pushed it. I get it. I understand why he pushed it, but I think it was a big mistake.
Huge mistake. And what this did to people's long-term mental health and their psychosis. And we look at suicides are way up, divorces are way up.
It was the whole response. It was
way up. It doesn't end. Go ahead.
But it was the shutdowns and it was just a vaccine. It was the whole response.
Taking people out of their routine, taking people,
absolutely.
Nobody, well, at least most people have never had to experience anything like this in their lifetime. So when you're
and think about it too, Roy, it's not over. I mean, look at it
worked once. Their experiment worked once. They'll do it again. They saw
but I mean, I'm just talking about.
Go ahead, sorry.
I'm just talking about the devastation. I mean, because there are subsets. Because look at the commercial real estate market. Now, look, we had this massive inflation that was created because we were paying people to stay at home, paying businesses to keep their employees on the books, even though they were producing zero goods and services. So create this massive inflation. And now everybody's working at home. So the inflation has crushed the American consumer, the American citizen, the middle class and below. And now you to counter that, you had the Federal Reserve raising interest rates at a record pace. And that's collapsing the commercial real estate. Why? Because ain't nobody going back to work. Because some of these buildings are 30, 40%, 50% on vacancy rates.
Right.
And you got these interest rates. Vacancies. So you see what I'm saying? So the economic devastation continues, even though the pandemic is long over. And the devastation is going to be, I don't know, decades. This ain't going to go away soon.
Right. And you and me are on tape a year or two ago saying the aftermath of this is going to be devastating and it's going to be catastrophic and people better be ready.
Generational life-changing.
Here we are.
For the worse.
And people think this is the worst it's going to get. Some people are under that impression. And I tell these people, oh, you better get ready. You better buckle up. This is nothing. But I mean, I hope people are just I hope people really wake up. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, I think that I personally think that when the commercial real estate market starts to fall, the dominoes fall, that it's going to have contagion effect into the residential real estate market. And this whole great record stock market is not going to mean squat. And I think that as we're going to start seeing that these companies, especially the ones that have been relying on cheap interest rates, the revenues are going to start decreasing. Their net cash flows. And their share prices are going to start to fall like dominoes too. So it's going to be this, I think, series of events that's going to build and it's going to build and it's going to build. And I mean, as the dominoes fall, I think the pace, the acceleration of fall is going to accelerate.
And we've already said this will be worse than 2008. And we saw all the bailouts in 2008. I can only imagine what that's going to look like in this time around.
I mean, we're talking about and nothing else. If nothing else, you look at the numbers.
Way worse than 2008. The numbers make 2008 look like batting practice, make it look like rookie level.
Absolutely. And just look at the debt. What we're like $8 trillion in debt.
Right.
We're $34 trillion and skyrocketing, racing.
Right.
I mean, you can't even imagine, you can't even grasp the magnitude of these numbers. But that's why it will be far worse in 2008, far worse. We've got huge problems. We got student loan debt, $1.5 trillion. I mean, that wasn't no $1.5 trillion back then. We've got credit card debt over $1 trillion, $1.2 trillion. That was never the case. We got corporate debt in the tens of trillions of dollars. I mean, so look, we had a crisis in 2008, yes, and it was devastating, but nothing like this one because the numbers are just too big.
And the Feds with the interest rates, how do you foresee that going
well
down?
I mean,
stagflation coming
I don't know how the Fed cannot cut rates,
right?
Because they're issuing all this new debt.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem is since for the last, I don't know, 30 years, they've been refinancing the old debt.
Mm-hmm.
You got a 30-year treasury and it rolls over 30 years, right? You got to pay it 30 years. So we got these treasuries, maybe, 2010 that were bought in 1980, So what have they been financing? Well, starting under Clinton, they started refinancing the treasuries, the longer term treasuries when they expired, started financing rather than issue another 30-year, they started shortening them. So issuing, 2, 3, 5-year treasuries to pay off, because that's how they do it. They don't just pay off these treasuries. They sell new treasuries to pay them off. It's a total Ponzi scheme. Right. But what they started doing is they started shortening the duration. So rather than having all these long duration bonds, 20 and 30s, they started refinancing with a lot shorter. So the average duration of all the bonds got shorter and shorter and shorter. And now, for the last 10 years, they've been refinancing everything with very short-term stuff, 3 months, 2 years, 5 years. So that means you got to quickly, you got to refinance all that stuff much quicker. Well, look at the interest rates. That's all fine and dandy when the interest rates are low, like it's 0%. I mean, the 3-month is 0% for many years. So you could refinance that stuff for cheap. That's why they did it. It actually made the government look like they had more money because the money they were spending on, on servicing was a lot less than because they were refinancing with shorter. Normally, the shorter duration bonds are lower interest rate. Mm-hmm. So when you refinance it, you're refinancing this bond at a lower interest rate. So it makes you look like you got more money. So is this whole scheme, again, orchestrated by the Federal Reserve and the federal government. Well, now the short-term rate is higher than the long-term rate. And the rate is up, at 5%, the 3-month, 5.25% to 5.5%. So every time they got to refinance, they were doing it with these short-term bonds that are super high interest rates. Well, that's a terrible, terrible thing. And it's it's been very bad for the amount of money that we appear to have and the service on the debt. And so what are you going to do? Now we've got trillions of dollars in debt that has to get rolled over, trillions of dollars. So we have to refinance those trillions of dollars. I think next year is 6 or 8 trillion, maybe more. Jeez. Maybe the next couple of years, $20 trillion. We got a lot of money that has to be refinanced in a very short window. How are you going to do that when you've got interest rates at 5.25%, 5.5%? The answer is you can't. So they're going to have to lower the interest rates if no other reason that when they refinance all of this maturing debt, they have to do it at a lower interest rate. Otherwise, we ain't gonna have any money. I mean, we don't have any money anyway. But this is the dilemma. This is why the Federal Reserve has to lower interest rates. But what is that going to do to inflation? It's going to reignite inflation. So it's damned if we do, damned if we don't. Either we don't lower interest rates and we have massive, massive costs in serving the debt because we're spending trillions more than we take in.
Right.
It's sustainable if we decide, like, you know what, we're got a $5 trillion budget. we're gonna take in $6 trillion. We're only gonna spend $5 trillion. We're gonna have $1 trillion surplus. You could do that. Hey, leave the rates at 6%, 8%. If you're spending less than you take in, at least you're taking a bite out of it. We're not doing that. We're spending $2, $3, $4 trillion more every year. And you can't do that with these rates up high. So they have to lower the rates. And not only that, but the banks are going to collapse. The regional banks are going to collapse. They just are. They've got trillions of dollars in commercial real estate that's coming due and it's going to be refinanced in the next 12, 18 months. How are you going to do that at 9%, 10%? Answer is they're not. They can't. They don't have the occupancy. They don't have the revenue, the rental income, and they can't afford the interest rate. So here's the keys, Mr. Regional Bank. It's yours now. All these things, problematic. That's why this whole soft landing thing, I don't know what you people are looking at, but you're not looking at the numbers that I'm looking at. You're not looking at the realities that I'm looking at. I mean, you're looking at the record NASDAQ and S&P or the Dow. I mean, that means squat. That's Wall Street. That is not Main Street.
And I predict a record amount of foreclosures and bankruptcies, probably more than we've ever seen. I mean,
I think so.
I can't.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean,
absolutely.
This is not sustainable.
No.
It's been poorly managed. All the unlimited spending, the unlimited printing of money, just bill after bill. I mean, these people never learn in Washington.
I cannot see gold under by this time next year. Let's say by December 31st, 2024. I don't believe gold will be under $2,500. I just do not see it. As a matter of fact, I think there's a much better chance it's closer to 3,000 than it will be closer to 2,000.
And all these foreign countries are buying gold.
Gold.
You see that?
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
Yeah.
And you know what's funny? It's hilarious. It's
Right.
not funny. It's so sickeningly sad. Government, we just give money to everybody. And, all these poor countries, you got to build your hospitals and build your education. So we gave Tanzania around $492 million. I say, it's not a ton of money, 492. It's a lot of damn. I'll take $492 million.
Right. I mean, and compared to what they spend, that's not very much money. You're right.
Yeah. But I read an article, and it was completely related because I actually had to look up how much money we give them in foreign aid. There was an article that Tanzania bought, like $300 million in gold, or 405. I don't know. It was like a ridiculous amount of money in gold. Tanzania.
Wow.
That was Tanzania buying gold. So I'm I scratched my head, I wonder how much money they get from us. So here they are is taking U.S. taxpayer dollars, putting it in their coffers. Maybe they're maybe they're building a freaking schoolhouse. Maybe they aren't. More likely, half of them are taking all their money, just stealing money anyway, but whatever. Let's say it's going to that. But then their government is buying $500 million in gold. Well, if you got money to buy gold, you don't need my $500 million to build your schools. Use that money to build your own effing schools and hospitals and roads. So it just goes to show you what suckers Americans are and how smart these countries are. You don't have to be like a PhD. You don't need a Stanford PhD to figure that one out. Hey, the idiots in America are going to give us $500 million. Let's go buy some gold with that money. I mean, it's just like the money we give Hamas. We're going to feed their people. No, they're buying weapons with it. They gave Hamas a bunch of money to fix their water problems, and they used the pipe, and they shipped them pipes. They used the pipes and built rockets out of them. This is how stupid bureaucrats are. But Tanzania buying gold, they're smart enough to know buy gold, and they bought the gold with the damn U.S. dollars that we gave them. How ridiculous is that?
Yeah. Yeah, and what's going on here in our country is going on around the world. Every country, it feels like, is struggling. China is probably doing the worst they've ever done. Did you see their stock market? Do you see their employment numbers? Do you see everything that's going on?
Yeah, China's in big trouble. I mean, primarily because their real estate market collapsed.
Yeah.
And they weren't making their largest real estate firm could not make the bond payments. They're in big trouble. But, the advantage that China has that America does is they don't give a damn about their people. And I've always said this, they don't give a damn. Oh, we lost 100 million in starvation. Look at their lockdowns. They were bringing in We got TV dinners that were better than the slop that they were bringing those people. They go around those Shenzhen or whatever that Chinese city that they shut down, and they show up with all dressed in the garb, and here's your little scrap of food. Give them a little ration. I mean, they don't give a damn.
No.
Yeah, maybe I'll be there tomorrow with another ration. Maybe I won't. We don't do that in America. Look, we got millions of people coming into our country every single year, getting free food, free welfare, free education, free healthcare. That don't happen in China. So, as bad as the economy is in China, they lose 100 million people on death and starvation. Yeah, they don't really care.
Did you hear that? And we got a few minutes left. I want to transition. But yeah, no, I agree with you on the China thing. But the illegal immigration, yeah, exactly. The illegal immigration is getting so out of hand. You now have Mayor Adams having kids out of school learning remotely so illegal aliens can fill up. And you have that. You have wherever Governor Healy is, I don't know which state that is, but is requesting that residents take in illegals. What the fuck, man? We've talked about this we talked about this a couple of years ago on air, and there's been people that have laughed at this, but now it's becoming a reality. I remember when Democrats were like, "Oh no, we have enough room. They don't need to come into our homes. That's just a Republican talking." Well, here you are. Here we go. This is it's starting.
Yeah, well, in New York, they built these tents. Got to get these people since they put them in these tents in, I don't know, some park that they took over, and where the kids couldn't play anymore. Right. And now, so they were afraid the wind's going to blow all the tents over. And Ben was like, "Look, these tents ain't going to last. I mean, you can't have these tents. This is not going to work." And they said it was a stupid idea. So then they had all this crazy weather that comes rolling through. So they kicked the kids out of the school so they could stick them, and they had to send 2,000 of these illegals into the school and kick the kids out, and they had to learn remotely. And I don't know, are they going to send them back to the tents? I don't know. It is so just absolutely disgusting. And it just shows you how, this is not incompetence. This is evil. This is what this is evil. And these are evil people. And I'm talking about the top from Joe Biden, Barack Obama. These are wicked, evil people. And the idea that the poor sap, the idiot Democrat who thinks that these politicians give a damn about them, just goes to their complete ignorance that they'll believe any lie that they're told. These people don't care about you. They don't. You're just a useful idiot to them. And look at you. All you could do is sit back, and if you think about it too much, all you do is get frustrated and bitter. And it's like, why am I? I'm eating the rat poison and waiting for the rat Democrats to die, and all it's going to do is kill me. So you get to the point where I'm not going to eat the rat poison anymore. I'm going to take care of my little circle of influence to the best of my ability, and wield as much influence as I can. And then after that, the rest is not on me. It's on you.
I mean, what does the future hold with this situation? Could they draft legislation forcing people to have immigrants in their homes?
No, I don't think so. But here's what they'll do. Here's what they always do. Pay. And you know what? People will buy it. People say, "Oh shoot, man, yeah, I'll put a couple of illegals in my throw a couple of futons on the floor and get a couple of tacos in here. Yeah, have a sleep. Hey, don't use the bathroom after midnight. Yeah, and get paid $1,000 a month. What's the government going to give these people? They're going to pay them, and there'll be people they'll stack them up in there, and then you know what they'll have? You'll have investigations because Joe Smith had 16 people in one bedroom and they're all stacked up, and he was taking advantage, so you're just going to open up a whole new can of worms there with people who are going to take advantage. But yeah, people will take them in. I'll bring him. Or no, they'll be like, and then the girl's going to get raped, and it's going to have that whole problem there. But there'll be people that'll take illegals into their house. I mean, think about it. We got more people with second, third jobs ever than the history of this country. People are hurting for money. And if they thought that they could turn their freaking garage into a haven for some illegals, stack some bunk beds in there, yeah, they'll do it. They'll do it.
So it sounds like this could be a very similar situation to a Section 8.
It ain't going to be free. They're not going to do it for free. You can come stay at my house. No, they're going to pay them.
Right.
Like, you know what? It's just like the whole foster thing. You know, people foster children. That's all great. Yeah. Take this crackhead kid, it's a baby girl of a crackhead. Oh, man, nice. They pay them thousands of dollars a year.
Right.
It ain't free. You know, just like, I'm going to volunteer to take this crackhead's kid into my house. They get paid.
Think about how much the government pays all these landlords that own these properties to bring in the less fortunate. And I could see something like that being similar with the illegals, no?
Well, it's the same thing, but you know what? There's not enough Section 8 housing out there to house them. That's the whole point. That's why they're having to tap into, private resources. Look, there are slumlords who own, dozens and dozens of Section 8 housing, and they're shitholes. Just drive by them, they're shitholes, but they don't care. What, you think they're going to build them? I think they're going to fix them up and make them nice. No, they're not looking to get $2,500 a month in rent. They're happy with their $800 guaranteed from the government rent, and let that low-life family sit in there, and maybe the toilet works, maybe it doesn't, but I know I'm guaranteed to get my money because the government pays 80% and the tenant pays 20. If that tenant doesn't pay his 20, government comes in and says you're out. So they pay their 20. So if it's $1,000, they pay 200, government gives you 800, and you get that money. It's mailbox money, and you don't care. The place is a crap hole. You don't really care if it's run down. You got 20 of them. You're making 20 grand a month. So but you know what? There's not enough of those places to house all these illegals. So they'll just go into people and say, hey, take an illegal or two in. We'll give you $1,000 a month.
Taxpayers have already been stuck with these massive bills. Imagine what the bills are going to be moving forward. I mean, it's only going to get bigger.
Well, look, you're not going to do it for free. I mean, people aren't going to take them in for free, and the government's not going to expect them to. They're going to pay them. Right. Just like they pay them to take in foster kids. You don't take foster kids in for free.
Exactly. Well said. Before we take off here, breaking news. Your favorite coach, Alabama, Nick Saban, is retiring.
Too bad.
Yeah, and good old Nick.
Going out a loser. I'm glad he's going out a loser.
I wonder if he goes to the NFL. What do you think?
I don't know, man. He's old, man. It's time. He wants to go away. He's old. Well, what is it? Why would he do that? You know what I mean? Like, how old is the guy?
I don't know.
73, 75? I don't know. He's old.
Nick Saban age 72.
There you go. 72. So, just kick back, watch football. He'll probably have, lifelong tickets in the box at the University of Alabama.
Right.
Enjoy life.
Right. Speaking of football, that game the other day, man, I wish it was closer. I was disappointed. That quarterback, man, for Washington, Penix, runner up for the Heisman, didn't even show up, man. I didn't even recognize the guy out there. It was really,
I think they lost their mojo, man. I mean, freaking Michigan came out there and when a dude takes that ball and runs 70 yards, it's demoralizing. And then you have another 60, 69 yard, those kind of things, those are gut punches. And I think it was just too much for Washington to ever recover. Too early, too much too early. And they could never recover and get their mojo back.
Yeah. Sports.
But it's going to be Buffalo Bills going all the way. I want to see a Buffalo versus Detroit Lions. That's what it would be my dream. My dream Super Bowl.
Yeah, the NFL playoffs are going to be fun. It's going to give us a lot of material, a lot to talk about for sure.
Yeah. Anything
else tonight?
No, waiting. I mean, I'm anticipating this SEC decision on the Bitcoin ETF.
Oh, yeah. No, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, everybody, I want to thank you all for tuning in tonight. Another episode of Daily S&M in the books. We will see you all very soon. Until next time, I'm Rory Sauter, Greg Merck. God bless. Much love. Cheers, everybody.